six days till the NFL season starts. 6 days till Chiefs Ravens. I will be here live on YouTube giving you a play-by-play and reaction for Chiefs Ravens, which is only 6 days away. Before I talk about the NFL, just some very quick announcements. Starting September 9th, I'll be doing something called Afternoon Delight. I'll be going live Monday through Friday for 3 hours on same great show. It's all questions are answered, anything goes. I won't be live next Friday, so the next time I do a live show, it will be Afternoon Delight. It will be Monday, September 9th, but I will be live Thursday night for Chiefs Ravens, which I am really excited about. My AFC North preview video should be out tomorrow. I've been delayed on my divisional breakdowns, but the other 4 divisional breakdowns will be shorter, more condensed videos because I want to get my predictions out there. I wanted to do an AFC and NFC overall video. I probably won't have time for that, but I will have my week 1 predictions out, and I'm going to do my best to try to make a video about my very first deposit in the BetUS. I'm going to put some action down on week 1. There's actually 2 games I'm definitely putting action on, and I'm leaning towards a third. But I don't know if I'm going to reveal that tonight or not. I don't know if I'm going to reveal the third game that I'm really eyeballing that I kind of like. So we'll find out. Let's just dive into it. The big news: CeeDee Lamb did sign with the Cowboys. I knew that was going to happen. I predicted that. I knew this was a deal that was going to get done. Brandon Ayuk, and if I'm getting his name wrong, I'm sorry. Ayuk, the former Arizona State wide receiver, player who I've absolutely loved, signed a 4-year, $120 million extension with the San Francisco 49ers. They got it done today. I'll be honest, I really didn't see it coming. I really thought that he would end up in Pittsburgh. I even bring that up in my AFC North video. I'm not going to change it. I'm going to leave it out there because I fully expected Brandon Ayuk to be in Pittsburgh, not in San Francisco. When San Francisco drafted Ricky Purcell in the first round, I just assumed that this was going to be his replacement. There's rumblings that Purcell was not as good as advertised, that he wouldn't be ready to take on the load that they originally thought, so they had to bring back Ayuk. We're going to find out if this works. I'll be honest, a lot of people are praising the 49ers. I'm going to be just the opposite. This should have been done a long time ago. He didn't practice. Now he's going to practice, and we're 6 days away from Chiefs Ravens. And if you're a team that lost the Super Bowl, don't you want one of your key playmakers there right away? It also makes Purcell signing a draft pick look really not very well. Now they drafted a guy by the name of Dominic Puna. Played tackle at the University of Kansas. They're going to kick him inside the guard. He's going to be a day 1 start. I predicted this, by the way, as well. You could have addressed a different need. Now drafting a wide receiver in the first round when you gave Ayuk $120 million, you got Deebo Samuel, you got George Kittle, you gave CMC some money. It sounds kind of silly. Now, keep in mind, it's just a matter of time before you have to pay Brock Purdy as well. So, I'm not going to be one of these people that's going to be high on the Brandon Ayuk deal. So that's just kind of the way it is. I am live on Twitch. I'm doing something a little different here. With Twitter, you have to pay for an account in order to go broadcast on Twitter, so I don't do that anymore, or X, whatever it's calling about. However, I'm a big fan of the platform. Big fan of Elon Musk. I'm just not paying it for right now. We'll see how that goes. And I'm also live on Instagram, but StreamYard, which I use to do all my videos with, it doesn't stream over directly. So if you put a comment on Instagram, I'm not going to get the video. I'm not going to get the comments on StreamYard. I'm trying to work something out with both screens up. But that's just where we're at right now. But also, I want to make sure that you all know Afternoon Delight. It's same great show starting September 9th. And it's going to be Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock Eastern time, 1 o'clock Pacific. So double check on something here because I think I'm having some technical difficulties here. Bear with me. And I apologize for the delay. Looks like there's just some problem here. Okay. No, I am good to go. So anyway, that's just where we're at right now, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm really looking forward to it. I am going to break down a few things that I wasn't able to get out earlier with football, with the divisions, and I also want to break down week one. I want to break down week one in a little more detail. Again, if you're new, I've joined with BetUS. BetUS is a proud affiliate of Dan Talks Football. There's a link below. You can get 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. So I'm going to do a video breaking down my first deposit with BetUS because there's a few games I want to go over. Funk says, so we lost power in mines. Oh, my God. Wow. That is awful. Man, Funk, I mean, talk about, here I am worried about my Afternoon Delight, and then you have power off in the whole city. So talk about me talking about first world problems, man. Geez, that's a bad one, man. I hope you and the family are okay. Because Thursday's a big one, and then Sunday night's a big one too. I mean, Rams Lions. That's going to be a good one. Rams Lions is going to be a good one. So I am super excited about Sunday night. And then also Friday night's game between the Packers and Eagles. That's going to be a good game. There are some really, really, really good games coming up week one. Keaton Talk Sports. What's up, Dan? So I didn't get a chance, Keaton, to go over. It was funny. One of the best things about doing this show is building a community, and I've been going over some of the different games. And I was talking with Denver Gator, and he's like, "Man, I forgot to DVR Colorado and North Dakota State. We're going to do some more college football this year, and there's some really great games that are coming up this weekend in the college football ranks. Unfortunately, your Ohio State Buckeyes is not going to be one of them, because Ohio State, I know their first game's against Akron. That is not going to be, let's just face it, it's not going to be a close game. Last I looked, I'm having problems. I was trying to figure out, I was trying to find I have no idea why I'm on the website. I can't find college football, which I feel like an absolute more okay. So they don't differentiate college and regular season here. So But I'm trying to find week 1 because there's some really, really good games then, and I can't find them. But there's some really good games. I ran into somebody who's going to be at the LSU USC game. I mean, how exciting is that? Week 1. One of those teams will be propelled into national championship talk. The other team almost eliminated, and that's right away. And that's LSU USC. That's going to be a really good game. I can't wait to watch that one. There's several really, really good games. The Colorado North Dakota State game is one that I only got to see the highlights for. I wasn't able to DVR it like I told Denver Gator I would. Denver Gator hit me up. He's like, Dan, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but there's this amazing interception. And then later on, I saw the highlight, Travis Hunter solidifying himself as a top 10 pick in the upcoming draft, whether he wants to play corner or receiver. I think he's going to be a corner, but somebody brought up receivers on the average are making so much more money. He may want to switch his thought. He played almost every snap of the game. Very impressive. Shadir Sanders, I'm sorry. 445, I think it was, and 4 touchdowns. They said the last quarterback to start the season, have 2 straight season openers of 400 yards and 4 touchdowns was a Texas Tech quarterback, Patrick something, plays for a certain team in the Midwest. And when you start bringing up Mahomes type comparisons, that's always a good thing. And this is driving me nuts because I really thought that I would. I'm not really sure why they don't have college football easier to find. I just assumed that before the show started, I could just click on college football, but I'm a little embarrassed about this. Here I am, doing a live show and having a problem with week 1 and college, trying to find the college football bets for week 1 on here. So that's I found the part where I got all the yearly bets. Okay, fine. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm live for I got the okay. Here we go. Finally, jeez. There are some good games. Clemson and Georgia, week 1. That's one I'm excited about. Georgia Tech. Well, never mind. They're playing Georgia State. That's not really going to be a real game. Keaton brings up Penn State at West Virginia. Penn State's 7.5-point favorite. It's going to be a good game because if Penn State dominates this game, we can throw them into a national championship picture. I really mean it. The defense is really good. The offense struggled last year, but they're going to be ranked somewhere. Are they going to be the best 12? We're going to have to wait and see. This used to be such a big game, and I wish it was a big game, but Florida and Miami, Denver Gators going to hate this, but I think Florida needs a different coach. Denver Gator, if he joins, he's going to be so mad because he likes Napier. I'm like, listen, you're one of the premier college football programs. You need a big name. You need somebody who's going to bring recruits to your school. You need something big. Now, the University of Miami, they brought in the Oregon head coach. He was a former player. His job's on the line. He's got to do something big this year. I think at least 8, but Funk says he's good. Appreciate it, man. It's only been out for about an hour. I just feel like it's going to be a long night. My 10-year-old has a friend's been. Yeah, the power outages are the worst. They really are. I used to, so I probably should set it up here as well. But when I lived in Kansas City, I had an emergency light. is an old camping light I just pop out, and I also have some candles. That emergency light, I actually have no idea where it's at, and I don't know if I have a candle here or not. So if power goes out here, I'm kind of fucked. Yeah, but I might have to go and buy some candles and do some shit myself. Because it's funny, there was in the Midwest, thunderstorms sometimes knock down electrical lines. So I'm prepared for a power outage in the Midwest. Here in Vegas, I'm not prepared for one. So it might be something I might need to think about. So hopefully you are okay. And hopefully you're a 10-year-old kid. I'm pretty sure it's a son, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Hopefully wherever he's staying, power's good there. But power outage, it's a bitch, man. It's a real bitch. So Slasher, what's going on, Dan? Yeah, I will not be live next Friday, and I unfortunately have to work at my job. And when I get home, the first thing I'm going to do is watch Green Bay and Philly. That will be on next week. I think it's a good job by the NFL to have a Thursday night game and a Friday night game. I personally like it, but we'll see what happens. I've never been a fan of Thursday night football, but I would not have a problem if the NFL wanted to go into Fridays. I know a lot of people are like, well, Friday should be more for, high school football, but I don't know. I'm just saying, I personally am kind of looking forward to it. Also, I think it's going to be a big game. I mean, you got two playoff teams from last year, two teams that finished second in their divisions against, two teams that are actually Philly's favored to win the East, Detroit's favored to win the North. But I mean, it's a big game. Going 0-1 for either Green Bay or Philly, I think it's a bigger game for Philly, to be honest with you, just the way they ended the season, and I talked about this in my video because you were 10-1 and you were the best team in football. There was no question. It was a dominant team, and you just kind of fell apart. So I really want to see how they bounce back. And you also brought up a good point. Sao Paulo is a crazy place. They were telling the players not to wear their jewelry and don't even take out their phones. It's actually funny because I'm that's like on my bucket list. I moved to Vegas. I checked off one big thing on my bucket list because I've always loved Vegas, just visiting out here. But Brazil is on the bucket list of that's actually the number one place I'm going to go to, and it's actually funny. A good buddy of mine who married. I don't know if she's a model, but she looks like it. Hopefully he's not offended that I'm talking about his wife looking model hot. But yeah, and he says, Dan, you trust me, go to Brazil because they think all Americans are rich. You're exotic. It's a lot of fun. Dan, just trust me on this. And he's married to like a Brazilian model. So real good dude. Real good dude. BD Buster just got in. What's up, man? Living the dream. 6 days till Chiefs Ravens. I am extremely pumped up for that game. But you also have a good game on Friday. Green Bay and Philly and Sao Paulo. I'm probably butchering that. It's going to be a good game, man. That game's going to be a blast. Yeah, it's going to be a blast. I'm hoping that one of my dickhead coworkers will not ruin the game for me by telling me what's going on. I'm going to go out of my way not to look at any social media, and I'm going to so sometimes you say, hey, don't tell me anything about the game. Somebody will just be a dick and say something. I'm not going to mention it. I'll be like, somebody says something like, oh, but we'll wait and see. I'll have the game on DVR, so I'm really, really, really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be more fun, especially, and everybody wants the Chiefs to win. Nobody wants to see a Ravens victory. Nobody wants a repeat of last season. Me losing about $300. I'm still bitter about that, by the way. Funk. If I remember right, Funk told me, he's like, Nancy, put down your purse and quit whining about that game. I'm sorry, but yeah, I was mad. I lost a couple $100 on that game, and I told Luke G I would go on a show and eat some crow, and we couldn't work out a time. But I've talked to Luke G since then, and he's like, he came on here and stuffed some crow down my throat. So, and I earned it. I deserved it. So, you know the deal. Welcome, brother. Me and my buddies have a kick the bucket bet. Will Jerry Jones get one more Super Bowl before he gets the bucket? Sadly, I'm betting the bucket. I'm a lot higher on the Cowboys than most people. I know that when you talk about two rookie offensive linemen, that's usually not a good thing. Tyler Guyton has looked amazing. And Cooper Beebe, this is going to be I watched this kid play. You got to steal. I'm telling you, he's going to be a really, really, really good player. And Tyler Guyton's one of these guys. There's no way he should have been available at pick 27. You got an absolute steal. Well, this and I'm not making fun of the Lions fans here. I got a lot of Lion love. This could be a trade. By the way, the Terrion Arnold, I think, is going to be a good player. I think he's going to be a good player. This could be one of those trades that Lions fans look at and regret for a long time, because I think Tyler Guyton, if he can stay healthy, is going to be one of those dudes who's just going to destroy people. And early on, he looks like a franchise left tackle. I mean, the clips I'm seeing of him, he's just dominant. I think he's going to have a great year. But when you talk about two offensive linemen that are rookies adapting to the NFL, it's a big thing. Don't get me wrong. I think Terrion Arnold's going to be really, really good himself. But I really think Tyler Guyton's going to be one of those guys that's just going to – I wouldn't be surprised if Tyler Guyton's like a Pro Bowl player right away. I loved his makeup. I kept on watching more and more I watched of him, more and more I'm like, oh my God. And I thought the plan was to have him play on the right side and keep Tyler Smith, who looked good at left tackle, but they're like, no, Smith's going to kick inside and Guyton's going to play outside. And I really think the Cowboys, I'm a lot higher on the Cowboys than most people. I've been saying for months that Dalvin Cook should sign with Dallas, and it finally happened. It's a little late. So how much of an impact is he going to have? I don't know. But Dalvin Cook signing with the Cowboys makes a lot of sense. I've been saying it for a long time. And I think it was a really, really smart move by Dallas getting them in. I really wish I had more time during the week, because I'm looking at some of these games on college football. USC, LSU. I'm going to DVR it. God, I can't wait for that one. Notre Dame and Texas A&M is a game that's kind of low. People are kind of overlooking, but that game's going to probably have 15 to 20 future NFL players in it, some first-round draft picks, some really, really good players. I haven't had a chance to check out Notre Dame at all. Texas A&M is a team that's littered with talent. I mean, there is so much talent on that team. It's just they haven't been able to put things together. So I'm kind of excited about that. Perry says, how are you, Perry? By the way, I want to give you a special shout out, and hopefully you're okay that I mentioned you in my AFC South video, because Great. I'm 25 minutes into it and I'm having my first brain freeze. Um, Man, God, I'm here I am. It's my last Friday show. And I'm kind of messing up here, but I'm just drawing a blank on your guy. And I'm gonna have to look up the name because I know the guy. I know he's the LSU receiver, Brian Thomas Jr. Hopefully you're okay with me bringing it up because I've been hearing things from Jacksonville fans, and I'm not talking fans. I'm not talking that fanboy who's like, "Oh, Jacksonville's best team in football." I'm not talking that dude. I'm talking about people legitimately, and they're saying that Brian Thomas Jr. has been just nearly unstoppable in Jaguars camp. And you were adamant Brian Thomas Jr.'s best receiver in the draft, and it could happen. And there's some nice names like Romo Duze. I just finished watching the final episode, Chicago Bears Hard Knocks, and I thought it'd be a little different, but we'll have to wait and see. Doug in Kansas, Dan, your Bill. Oh, God. Is it Bill or is it a gay joke? I don't know. Doug in Kansas, man. Glad you joined us, man. I reserve judgment on any rookie. I agree. I agree. I'm just saying early on to Teron Arnold, he looks good, but Tyler Guyton looks like this is a dude who looks like he's going to be a. I think this dude looks like a Pro Bowl left tackle. I really do. I think Tyler Guyton, not only is he going to start, like I think it's going to be a difference maker. I mean, the Cowboys had this really, really, really good offense last year, and people are just blasting the Cowboys. They didn't do anything, and it's like I know they got two rookies on that offensive line. There is a good chance that this offensive line could actually be better and than last year's offensive line. Dak Prescott, there's a lot of money waiting if you ball out this year. I mean, seriously, if Dak Prescott puts up 5,000 in a contract year, even if it's not from Dallas, I mean, he's going to make what? 60, 65. Could he make 70 million in is it possible he could sign a 4-year, $300 million contract extension if he let's say he takes let's say I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan and my wildest wet dream comes true and Dak Prescott wins MVP, Super Bowl MVP. What number is too high? A 4-year, $300 million dollar extension that might be what you're looking at. And by the way, I am doing the math, and yeah, I know I'm saying 75 million a year, and that it could be something insane like that. But we'll have to wait and see. Dallas made a smart decision. If Cook can say, I've been saying this for months, and here's the deal: he doesn't have to be the same Pro Bowl caliber running back. He just doesn't. But Ezekiel Elliott cannot be expected to be the guy that gets 20 to 25 touches every week. He's not that guy. He's really not. So you really need two guys to kind of split the workload. And I think Cook should have been signed months ago. This just made so much sense on so many different levels. But yeah, Dallas did make a smart decision. Dallas won 12 games last year and very quietly got better. And a lot of people don't see that. But Dallas quietly got better than a 12-win team. And by the way, so the Detroit Lions. Thomas Jr. may turn T-Law into the franchise quarterback everyone thinks he is. I agree completely. I really look at Jacksonville, and you got Travis Etienne, who a lot of people overlook what a great year he did. He's a low key MVP candidate, Travis Etienne. He had a great season last year. I think it was like 1,700 total, 1,800 total yards from scrimmage, overshadowed by CMC, deservedly so. Give CMC a lot of credit. Travis Etienne had a great year. Evan Ingram, I think 107, 108 receptions. Christian Kirk looked like a number one wide receiver when he got hurt the last month of the season. It was something Jacksonville really didn't adapt to very well. They brought in Gabe Davis, who I've always thought is a solid 2 at best, but you bring somebody in like Brian Thomas Jr., who has a world of potential, and early on he's living up to it. And here's the best part about Brian Thomas Jr. going to Jacksonville. He doesn't have to be that guy. He doesn't have to be the guy who has 90 receptions and 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns. All he has to do, to be honest with you, is hey, look, just being on the field and knowing that you can stretch the field opens up things for Etienne, who could improve on last year's performance, which would make him a legitimate MVP candidate. Christian Kirk plays like a number one wide receiver. I'm gonna look this up. I think it was 108 last year. It was from Evan Ingram. It was 114. 114 receptions last year, 963 yards for 8.4 yards a catch. Very low number, but you get my point, though, is that you still got a guy who's catching a ton of passes in your offense. Now you add a deep threat with size and big-time playmaking ability. Yeah, they fired their defensive coordinator right after the season ended. But remember, Jacksonville started off 7-3. 7-3. And it's a young, talented offense that just got this playmaker who you love. And they also improved the offensive line. They got a new defensive coordinator. Pay attention to Jacksonville. Doug in Kansas. Dan, your bold hot take prediction for one player on offense and one player defense this season for the Chiefs. Thoughts? Yes. I'll give you a bold prediction. George Karlaftis leads the Chiefs in sacks, not Chris Jones. George Karlaftis is the guy that I think's really going to be like the face of this defense for the next couple of years. I really do. I think, and it's funny because I wasn't as high on him as a lot of other people. I really wasn't. And he's proven me wrong. I mean, there's a nonstop effort, nonstop motor, the play to the whistle type of attitude that I absolutely love. You combine that with talent, you combine that with Chris Jones. George Karlaftis could have 15 sacks this year, and it would not surprise me at all. I think he's going to be dominant. And here's the thing. I think the Chiefs offense will score more than they did last year. So what happens when you're in shootouts? You have more opportunity to rush the passer. You got to worry about number 95. You got to worry about number 95. So George Karlaftis, I think, could be a low-key defensive player of the year candidate. He'll have double-digit sacks, and he'll lead the team in sacks this year. Not Chris Jones, and I think Chris Jones just got that massive extension. I think he'll be fine with it. I think Chris Jones would rather win a Super Bowl than lead the league in sacks. But I think Karlaftis will get more sacks than Chris Jones. Offense, I know it's going to sound crazy because he's been ruled out, but I think Hollywood Brown is going to have a massive year. I think even though he's going to miss week 1 and maybe other games this year, I think when he plays, if he can stay healthy, I think he'll have over 1,000 yards. Juju Smith-Schuster in Kansas City looked awesome. Juju Smith-Schuster in Kansas City looked like a legit number one receiver, and I know why. I knew why New England let him go. They have some young playmakers. They have an older guy with a bad knee that they can't depend on. Juju Smith-Schuster, when healthy, it can have a massive impact in Kansas City. I think New England knew that this was not a long-term dude. This is a short-term guy. And by the way, Juju Smith-Schuster is not playing 5 to 10 years in Kansas City. Hollywood Brown signed a one-year deal. He's going to come back, and he's going to come back sooner. And I think he's going to come back. I say sooner. I think sooner than expected, because originally they're talking about him being out maybe 4 to 6 weeks. I don't think so at all. I think he'll be back week 2 or 3, and I really think he'll go over 1,000 yards, because this is the type of offense that is really geared towards his skill set. And I think Xavier Worthy, a lot of people are thinking Xavier Worthy is going to be the guy. I think Hollywood Brown is going to show Xavier Worthy the ropes. And Hollywood Brown, even though he's got that separated shoulder, I think he'll be the guy that goes over 1,000 yards this year. I loved when they signed him. Look, have you seen the contracts receivers are getting? 1,000 yards for Hollywood Brown will equal about $25 million a year. And if I'm Hollywood Brown, I would take less money and stay in Kansas City, but that's another case. And I hate when people are like, "Oh, I would take 10 million over 15 million." Here's the deal. That 15 million somewhere else would end up being just like Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju Smith-Schuster left for more money in New England. What happened? He's gone. And I think if Hollywood Brown goes to another team, they're not going to figure out how to use them the right way. I think Andy Reid in Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes will be able to use him the right way. So that's why I'm like, hey, listen, Hollywood Brown, get healthy fast. I think he'll go over 1,000 yards, even though he's going to miss 1, 2, or 3 weeks. Now, keep in mind if he gets injured again or the shoulder is bad enough, because it's a separation. I mean, it's a painful thing. It's one of those things like if I had the same injury, I would probably be wearing a sling, whining and crying about it. But look, when you're an NFL player, you got to play with these types of things. And he goes over 1,000 yards. The free agent market is going to be big for a player like that. So. Perry says Dallas wanted to trade with us. They gave us 2 starters and the most important part after quarterback. I think they did win the trade. I really do. And I'm telling you right now, I think that by the way, I love the Terrion Arnold across the board. I had him as my number 2 corner. And worst case scenario of Terrion Arnold is they move him back to safety. And you're going to say, Dan, that's not a win. If we draft the guy number 1 and we bring him in to be a corner and he goes back to safety, that's not a win. Oh, yes, it is a win. Daxton Hill for Cincinnati did just the opposite. They wanted him to play safety. They drafted and replaced Jesse Bates and move him to corner. And he looked good playing corner, by the way, and he's going to be the starter. It doesn't matter where in the secondary you have Terrion Arnold. I think he's going to be a fine corner. I really do. Your kid Rakestraw that you got in the 2nd round, that kid may end up being better. But Terrion Arnold has all the tools to be a star. Guyton looks like he's going to be a Pro Bowl left tackle right away. And that's something I want to give Dallas a lot of credit on. I'm glad you're here, Doug in Kansas. I am so glad you're here, man. Dallas keeps Dak. Dallas need to draft O-line and the best running back early in the draft. I think Parsons could be a trade for picks. Dallas can't keep Parsons if they sign Dak. I agree completely, and I wouldn't be surprised if Parsons goes, because remember they drafted Marshawn Nealon in the 2nd round this year. So that Nealon player can play, and I got a gut feeling. I did a video on Dark Horse MVPs, and I'm like, watch out for this Nealon kid. Like this kid can play. Parsons leaving would also make a lot of sense. And I could see Dallas saying, you know what, we can't pay you. We'll give the money to Dak. And I can see this scenario too. Let me throw this out at you, Perry. Let's say Dallas does the same thing. They win 12 games. They get to the playoffs. They don't make the Super Bowl, and they get rid of McCarthy. Like I said by the way, in the link below, I only have 3 divisional round videos broken down, but I have the NFC East, AFC East, and the NFC North. The AFC North video should be out tomorrow. But I say the same thing in my NFC North preview, that McCarthy will lose his job and Zimmer will take over. So let me throw this out at you. You need to just move on from Dak, and you trade Parsons. So you have draft capital. Shedeur Sanders, anyone? Heisman Trophy winner from Colorado. At least that's what Denver Gator says. One of the best things about this community is making friends like Denver Gator and having Denver Gator text me about the Colorado North Dakota State game, and it's awesome. I love that. By the way, email below Dan Talks Football at yahoo.com. I have that synced up to my phone. If you want to email me directly, it's set up. You can also message me on either Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, or Instagram. But if you don't follow me, it goes to a different mailbox. So I try pretty regularly to keep track of social media. Plus, if you put a comment, I will always read the comments. There's been a few people that told me that they've put in comments in my videos and live streams, and they are not able to go through. So that's why I also put a way that you can email me directly into my social media. So, and I have no idea why this camera is not centered today. Yeah. Does Kansas City have the cap to keep George Karlaftis? So they'll have to get a little creative, and here it is. So Sua Matea, and by the way, I have to figure out how to say this name correctly because Sua Matea is not correct. Also, some Trent Green, who's doing the Chiefs play-by-play in preseason, and I'm butchering Sua Matea. It's not even close. Part of the reason he's a starter at left tackle is because he's a rookie. And that's just a whole process of keeping George Karlaftis. Part of the reason that they didn't sign L'Jarius Sneed, there's also some injury issues, but part of the reason they haven't signed L'Jarius Sneed to a long-term deal and he's now in Tennessee is because of George Karlaftis. That was also the reason why they drafted, I've been calling him FAU Felix something, in the first round in last year's draft, who is right now the definition of bust. I mean, he was playing with the second and third strings in preseason, and he wasn't even looking that good. Like, be honest, if FAU was like a 7th round pick, he would probably be cut. He did not look good. I mean, if you're a first round pick and you're playing against second and third string type of guys, you should be getting 2 to 3 sacks a game. And he wasn't even making plays. I'm very disappointed. I wasn't a fan of the pick. I said it. I can be critical of my team, but Keaton Talks Sports is correct. He's a day one starter at left tackle. Chiefs got him at the end of the second round. He's a day one starter, and he's really, 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 really good. Perry says, "What do you think of the cuts Kansas City made? Are you happy with them?" There's a couple of receivers that got cut. I was disappointed with that got signed with the practice squad. So yes, and Rico DiMeggio, something like that. He's an undrafted free agent that Chiefs coaching staff and players were just like gushing all over. He's re-signed with the practice guy. Justin Ross, who a lot of people thought would get a start in Kansas City. I didn't think he would. He did play a little bit in the regular season, played well too in his very limited time. Athletic, tall dude with some speed. He got cut, signed back with the practice squad. So those two players I was really happy with. They got a 7th round corner, Nick Jones. They drafted out Ball State last year. Big physical corner. I kind of liked him. Played a little bit in special teams, kind of stood out last year as a rookie. He got cut, re-signed with the practice squad. So people were talking about the rugby player from New Zealand, Australia. I think he signed with Jacksonville, and I didn't think much of it. He didn't show me enough in preseason to get me really excited. The Chiefs also had a player. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he has a pet alligator, 42, long blonde hair, and he balled out in preseason. So yeah. The Rams are missing so much on the offensive line. Jonah Jackson's going to be the center. LOL. I didn't know Jonah Jackson got moved over to center, so I'm glad you let me know that. I can't wait to watch Rams and Lions. And the two franchises are always going to be intertwined. Brad Holmes came over from the Rams. Of course, Goff and Stafford. So they're always going to be intertwined, and it's going to be such a good game, man. It's going to be such a good game. Kansas City got a starter at left tackle in the 2nd round, so it's an excellent pick. Excellent pick. The Chiefs have been nailing. One thing about the Kansas City Chiefs is that 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, Chiefs have been nailing it. FAU 2 years ago didn't like trading up in the 1st round for Xavier Worthy. Not a fan. But Sua Matea, yeah. I think he's going to be really good too. So the way I understand it, Perry asked a great question. Can Dallas tag Dak with a 1st or 2nd round in free agency? Part of the whole negotiation, and I do think a deal will get done. I do think Dak will get something worked out, and I think it'll happen during the season. Happen after a season. I don't know. I think Dak will stay in Dallas. I just want to go on record saying that. But if he balls out, the amount of money he could be asking for is ridiculous unless Dallas signs him during the regular season. But the way I understand it is that part of the contract negotiations are that they cannot tag Dak. So it's that he has like a no tag clause in his contract. The way I understand it, Perry, and I could be wrong about that. But I think part of the whole negotiation is that he can't be tagged, and I think that's part of the deal, or Dak's not going to agree to it. I will let you know this right now. I do expect Dak to be the quarterback in Dallas, and I think Dallas will give him a boatload of money. Dan in chat, what teams do you think are dark horse teams that nobody's really talking about? Thoughts? Doug in Kansas, what a great question. Before the season started, I was telling people watch out for the Saints. And the reason why I say that is that they switched offenses completely. They got rid of a longtime offensive coordinator, Pete Carmichael. I drew a blank on his name. They brought over Clint Kubiak from San Francisco, they're going to be more of a running team. And this is something I've been pushing for a while is you got Alvin Kamara, you got Jamal Williams, who they got from the Lions. They got some offensive linemen, but they're missing tackles. So what they did is they took their 1st round pick from a couple years ago, who's been a flop at left tackle. They moved Trevor Penning. They moved him over to the right side. They drafted Fuega out of Oregon State, who a lot of people thought was the number 1 tackle in the draft. He played right tackle at Oregon State. They're going to switch him over to the left side. And I was like, if they can there was one other spot, Andreas Pete, who played both tackle and guard, either retire or no, he's out. He's out with an injury issue. I thought the offensive line with the Saints was worked out, and it doesn't look like they will be. I like the position, I like the switch in offenses. I think the defense is going to be fine, even there's a lot of older players on that defense. And I think Alvin Kamara being featured more like Christian McCaffrey. You're getting a San Francisco player. Why not use him the same way? Because I always felt that Alvin Kamara could really be used a little more. He's not a small dude, but you use him like a small dude. And I get that. But originally I was really high. There's some injuries on the offensive line. There's been a lot of talk like it I have to kind of back up on the Saints a little bit, but they were my kind of NFC dark horse. AFC dark horse. I'm really high on the Jets. I don't know if you would really consider them a dark horse, but I love the defense. I love Breece Hall. I love the moves they made on the offensive line. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to be Aaron Rodgers. He just has to not really drop the ball here. As far as the AFC West, I'll be honest. I think you got three teams that are going to hover around 500. There's no. I've been listening to a lot of Raiders sports talk. I'm here in Vegas now. By the way, they don't have Red Friday out in Vegas. It's really weird. It's really weird. I keep expecting people to be dressed up in Chiefs red. They don't do that here in Vegas. It's very strange. No way the Raiders have a good offense this year. That offense is going to be painful all year to watch. Chargers, I really think it's going to take. I think 2025. Watch out for the Chargers. 2024, I think it's going to be some growing pains. Herbert's just returned to practice, been out for a couple of weeks. I think it'll show. I think it'll be a little frustrating because Chargers fans are going to expect Herbert to play really good, and I think he'll struggle early on, and that'll be an issue. Bo Nix, I think, is going to play well for Denver, and I think Denver will surprise a lot of people, hover around 500, but not make the playoffs. But I think, as far as like a surprise team, I talked about them briefly, but I think Jacksonville's a team people should really watch out for. I really do. That Brian Thomas Jr., Perry has been talking about Brian Thomas Jr. being his number one guy since March. This is Perry right here, and Perry's just been like, I think this is the best receiver in the draft. I kind of was like, I don't. I mean, yeah, he's good, but I don't know if he's number one. All I've been seeing is just Brian Thomas Jr. just dominating, and it's not fanboys saying that or LSU fans saying that or Jacksonville fans. It's other players on the team. It's media that I respect, not the fanboys. You combine that with all the other weapons that they have, and Trevor Lawrence was my MVP pick. So I'm going to say Jacksonville, but I don't know if that's really fair. New York, the Jets are another team. A lot of people think Denver is going to be a terrible team. I don't think so. I think they're going to hover around 500. NFC, I was saying Saints, but the injuries they have on the offensive line and the offense not being on the same page really bothers me quite a bit. So I'm kind of backtracking a little bit on the Saints because I could see the Saints having I really could see the Saints just having like a 5-6 win team and just blowing that whole team up because there's a lot of age, there's a lot of money. Dennis Allen, I think, has to do something. And I think the AFC South, it's a winnable division. I don't think there's a dominant team there. And it's kind of funny. I didn't have enough time to put out all 8 divisional videos by now. I'll probably have to do a quick video, and it sucks because I would love to go into a lot of detail in the NFC South. But the Saints were my NFC team. Trying to think of another team in the NFC that's a sleeper. But I'll be honest, the Saints were kind of my like sleeper team. The one thing I will say is if Sam Darnold can be the guy that I thought he could be coming out of USC, that Vikings offense could be explosive. And I think Flores will keep that defense intact. But God, that NFC North is so brutal. It's so brutal. I didn't think he was a first rounder. There's a player, Isaiah Foxley, who's second round pick for the Saints. He's done nothing in New Orleans. I liked better when the Chiefs. I was not a fan of this draft pick at all. He's a local kid. He went to the high school that is less than 2 miles from where my dad lives right now. A Kansas City kid. It's a great story. Walked on to K-State, had 30 sacks. He was a high energy player. I didn't think Kansas City was the right spot for him. Sometimes local kids don't really pan out. And he's been the definition. Seriously, I'm not joking. If he was like a 6th or 7th round pick, he would have been cut. Oh my God. I didn't even get to this, but Tim Patrick, this is a great pickup for the Lions, and I'm glad he's out of Denver as a Chiefs fan, because you're going to love this guy if he's healthy. He's a big receiver with really good hands. Big dude with hands. He's not really a threat to stretch the field, but he's a solid dude. I seriously think his ceiling is a solid number 2, and that's exactly what you need. I could see, and here's the thing, in an offense like Detroit's, I think a guy like this is gold, because this is a guy that can help you move the chains. You got Jameson Williams, who's your speed guy. There's no ceiling on how good Laporta could be. I think Laporta could have a monster year. I mean, a monster year. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who, by the way, I've been listening to a lot of his podcast YouTube channel. It's really entertaining. I'm really getting a kick out of listening to him, because it's really good, man. It's really good. I give him a lot of credit. He got paid in the off season. Hopefully he continues. Listen, Lions fans, don't get mad. This is just facts. I've seen a lot of players get that money, which is the goal. And a lot of people are going to say, no, his goal is to win Super Bowl. Trust me, that $110 million is probably, whether you want to admit it or not, that's multi-generational wealth that he just acquired. And he by the way, they started a podcast and a YouTube channel, which is blowing up. It's fantastic too. It's really awesome. I'm a big fan of it. But you got some weapons. You got Gibbs. A guy like Tim Patrick is perfect. He's a big dude. He's a red zone target, but he's a guy that's just he's perfect, because Goff's not that dude who's throwing bombs downfield. He's not your Josh Allen or your Stafford or your Mahomes type of quarterback. He's more of a quick rhythm passer. You're not trying to go downfield with Goff. And I'm not, if it sounds like I'm insulting Goff, I'm not. It's just that's not his strength. He's not a big armed quarterback. You want a big dude like Tim Patrick. Like this is hand in the glove fit. When I found out Tim Patrick was going to leave, I was like, what teams would he be a good fit for? I would have loved him here in Kansas City, but when they signed Juju Smith-Schuster, actually Patrick got signed before Juju, but I would have loved Tim Patrick being here. I would have been over the moon. I would have been over the moon because I want the dude who I know on 3rd and 7 I can go to, and that's money. What was the biggest problem with the Chiefs last year was drop passes. This is not a dude who drops passes. You're really gonna like this dude. You're really gonna like this dude because he's not the dude who's going to bitch if he doesn't get 10 targets a game. You got Jameson Williams and Gibbs, your explosive playmaker types. This guy, you guys are really gonna like him. Yeah. Doug and Ken, you're really gonna like this dude. Perry has his dark horses: Denver, Bears, Chargers, Washington, New England. I didn't even touch on New England. I think New England is going to hover around 500. A lot of people think they're going to have a terrible year. I do not. I really think that New England's going to hover around 500. I think the defense is a top 10 unit. There is talent there. I a little disappointed because I assumed that Judon was going to stay there. He's now in Atlanta. And I think it's going to be a lose-lose for everybody because I think Judon getting there late is going to hurt, and I don't think he's going to have the type of impact that Atlanta needs. Because what Atlanta really needs is a pure pass rusher. I know Judon can get after the quarterback, but the strength of his game is that he's a multidimensional type of player that can do a lot of different things. Well, when you have him doing a lot of different things in a Bill Belichick defense, that's a lot different than sending him to Atlanta a couple weeks before the season starts and say, yeah, we're going to have you do everything. But in reality, all they really needed in Atlanta was a guy to get after the quarterback. And it's probably going to be a 1-year rental. So I don't get me wrong. If they work out a deal and Judon stays for the next couple of years in Atlanta, that's a win for Atlanta. But I really think it's going to be a lose for everybody. I think it'll detract from the Patriots defense. I don't think it's really going to work out with Atlanta. Keep in mind that 3rd-round draft pick next year could be huge because there's a lot. This draft, this 2025 draft is a heavy defensive laden draft. So, there's a very good chance that you're going to get a lot of good defensive players coming out into this draft. The thing is, if I'm New England, I need offensive playmakers, which could really benefit the New England Patriots. But, yeah. Patrick is on the pack. Yeah, if he stays healthy, he's going to have a big impact. I was just told Johnson. I just told Finn Johnson doesn't go to Dallas after this year. Huh? If Cook can have a good season, 1,000 yards running the ball, Dak can have it. Well, here's the thing. I don't think Cook's going to be I don't think he's going to get enough carries to hit 1,000 because I really think that what's going to happen is him and Ezekiel Elliott are going to split carries. And I think it's going to be a game-by-game thing. I think there'll be some games where Ezekiel Elliott gets 20 touches, and I think there'll be some games that Cook gets 20 touches. And the game that Cook gets 20 touches, Ezekiel's only have 5. The games that Ezekiel gets 20 touches, Cook's only going to get 5. Maybe they split it and they all get 15-15, but I don't think he touches 1,000 unless Ezekiel Elliott misses a lot of time. But I've been here and I've been saying this makes a lot of sense. This makes a lot of sense. So yeah. He should have been in Dallas and should have been participating in preseason. So the issue with Alvin Kamara and the Saints, I think, is really more about the offensive line because that offensive line gets set up, and Clint Kubiak can implement that plan. So I put some cinnamon in that coffee, and it went down the wrong pipe there. Choking on the cinnamon, I normally don't like to do the coffee straight to energy drink thing, but I got it here ready to go. I got my energy drink ready to go. Trust me when I say this that I don't need it. I really don't need it, but I probably will pop my energy drink anyway. I think this offense is designed for Alvin Kamara. The problem is that offensive line's Fuega's been banged up. He didn't practice for a couple weeks. He's a rookie, switching from the right side to the left side. You got Trevor Penning, who's been the definition of bust. He's moving over to right side. They really thought that they would have They really thought they'd have Andreas Pete play either as a replacement tackle or starting at guard. Really good player. He's out for the whole year. So when I look at Alvin Kamara, I don't think it's a case of Alvin Kamara. I think it's the offensive line. The one thing about the Saints is that everybody has been gushing about Spencer Rattler. Everybody has been gushing about Spencer Rattler, and I think for good reason, because I think there's a good chance that he could be the guy either this year or next year to replace Derek Carr. And by the way, if things don't work out the offensive line, who's going to get blamed? It's going to be the quarterback. And that's just, is it fair? No, it's not fair. But it all comes down to the offensive line. But I mean, you got one guy who's been a bust. You're asking him to switch positions and start. They got another guy who's switching positions. He's a rookie. He's gone from right tackle to left tackle, and he missed a couple weeks already. I don't know. They got Cesar Ruiz, who played guard and center. He's a really good player. And they got another offensive line I'm drawing a blank on who's a good guy. So there's pieces in play. If that offensive line's good, Alvin Kamara is going to have a great season. He's never rushed for over 1,000 yards, and he should. He's talented enough to do that, but they've always used kind of a platoon 1-2 system. They've always used Alvin Kamara, I think smartly, but they're switching that, and they're saying, hey, the weight is you. You're going to be like diet CMC. So the long-winded answer to your question, Perry, is absolutely. But it's the offensive line, which right now looks like it's in shambles. And that's why I've kind of backtracked on the Saints being my sleeper NFC pick, because I think the offensive line's in a disaster area. And Dennis Allen's an excellent defensive coach. You got other but you're relying on a lot of veterans that are past their prime on the defensive side of the ball. So, and you don't have a guy to get after the quarterback. You're banking on Chase Young to be that guy. He signed as a pretty big deal. It's like a 1 year, $12 million deal, 1 year, $10 million deal. And he's got to be your number one pass rusher. He needs to play like he did his rookie year. I watched clips of him against the Chiefs and against the Lions. This is NFC Championship game, Super Bowl, and he did have a sack in the Super Bowl. But he did have a sack in the Super Bowl, but he wasn't. You could tell he just wasn't playing at 100%. Like it just, he almost looked bored out there. And it's like, look, you're playing in the NFC Championship game and you're walking. There's a clip where I think it's Jamar Gibbs breaking tackles, and Young's just like walking, chasing him. It's like, this is for to get to the Super Bowl, and you're walking. And by the way, San Francisco's, I mean, you got Bosa on one side. Remember, they signed Randy Gregory, who for whatever reason didn't report to the Bucs training camp, so they just cut him. But you had Randy Gregory, you had Bosa, they had another defensive lineman. So that defensive line went deep. It's not a case where like he had the play. And the Saints said, you know what, there's nobody else out there. Like, let's just hope it works. And the talent's there. It's just that it's been an injury issue, but last year it was an effort issue. The 49ers traded for him. They also acquired Randy Gregory, and things were going to work out. And, I mean, you could say it did. I mean, they got to the Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong. When the Chiefs had that terrible Super Bowl about losing to the Bucks, like I just didn't even want to watch football for a while. But yeah, if Denver can be competitive in the AFC West and be 500, if Knicks is solid. By the way, Perry, I think all those things are going to happen. I think Denver is going to be competitive in the AFC West. The thing is, though, I think Kansas City will have 3 to 5 to 6 more wins than Denver. I mean, look. I mean, come on. But I think Denver will hover around 500. I really do. And I think Knicks will be solid. I really do. I seriously, out of all the rookie quarterbacks, the guy I think is going to do the best, brain freeze, Heisman Trophy winner of LSU. I can't think of his name right now. I'm so embarrassed. Anyway, the Washington Commanders quarterback, Jaden Daniels. Okay, I think he'll win Rookie of the Year, but I think him and Knicks will be competing. I think Caleb Williams will have highlight reel plays, but I think he'll will kind of go down a little bit. So, but I think Knicks could be Rookie of the Year. Thomas Jr. is my number one, but will be a lot of good to great wide receiver. Oh yeah, there will be. I think Neighbors will be good. I think Roma Duze will be good. I don't think Roma Duze will be great year one because they got 2 studs ahead of him on the depth chart. Neighbors will be really good. And Marvin Harrison Jr. will be really good as well. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of good ones. I've heard more about Thomas Jr. and the guy I wanted Kansas City to draft, Adonde Mitchell out of Indianapolis. I heard Adonde Mitchell is destroying people. Jermaine Burton for the Bengals in the 3rd round is a guy that they're really high on as well. So the Sun God, number 1, Laporta, number 2, JMO, number 3, Gibbs, number 4, Raymond, number 5, targets. I will. Gibbs is banged up. I want to see how healthy he is. And you're talking receiving targets. I don't know. 1 and 2, I think is a no-brainer. But number 3, I think Jameson has to be that guy. And then Gibbs and Montgomery, I kind of want to see how they work that out because I really still think that there should be more Montgomery than Gibbs, but we'll have to wait and see. And then Raymond, number 5. I mean, what about Montgomery getting more targets? I think Patrick will end up getting more targets. And I'm going to tell you something, Perry. If you're not aware, Tim Patrick's a really good player. If he stays healthy, he'll replace Raymond at number 5. He's a better receiver, much better receiver. But that's why I really like that signing is because he can replace Raymond as a guy Goff would want to go to. He's a very reliable target. You're really going to like this dude. Again, he's got to stay healthy. So teams have the game plan for Laporta and Gibbs now. Jameis should be breaking out this season. I really I have no idea why things haven't worked out for Jameson Williams. I know he had this suspension, but I would not it kind of looks like he's just I'm an outside observer. And I remember Jameson Williams at Alabama. I remember the trade up for Jameson Williams in the draft. And I also remember the trade up for Gibbs. And Gibbs was used right away. They've never used Williams. It kind of seems like Williams is being phased out. I wouldn't be surprised at all if come trade deadline Williams is dealt, to be honest with you. And I kind of think the whole Tim Patrick being signed is that they're kind of looking at their offense. And I think they're kind of thinking originally that, hey, we need a speed guy to stretch the field. And then they drafted Gibbs and are like, Gibbs can do a lot of those things. Laporta can slide down the street, can go down the seam. That's what I was trying to say. Raymond's a smaller dude who's got some speed. Am I correct? Amon-Ra can do just about anything. Maybe it's more important to get a bigger dude who can move the chains. And that's kind of the way I looked at signing Tim Patrick. I think that's a big signing for the Lions because that's kind of what Kansas City did last year. Is Kansas City Rashee Rice, a bigger, built more like a fullback. Throw to Travis Kelce. Yeah, we're not going to go downfield, but we're going to have bigger guys that can win one-on-one matchups, get those contested catches. And that I could see that happening with the Lions offense. And I think that's a good thing. Raheem Morris is the head coach, but he's going to basically be the defensive coordinator. It's going to be Raheem Morris. I know he brought in somebody else. I don't know who it is, but it's going to be a Raheem Morris defense. And he's going to run like I hate using these terms because I'm trying to move on from it. I'm trying to say like even and odd fronts. So he's going to put more odd fronts or a 3-4, which has been the standard defense. But Raheem Morris has always been a guy who's kind of run like a hybrid type of defense. But he's the head coach, but he's basically a defense coordinator. Perry spitting facts here, folks. He's on fire. He's saying the Pats are playing the long game. The third-round pick is the starter. The upcoming draft is heavy in defensive talent. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. But here's where I disagree. I agree with that. The Pats are playing the long game, but I think that third-round pick could be used on a starter because there are some good tackles in this draft. I think you could, because left tackle's still a hole. They got some young players at receiver. I think they're worried that they don't pan out, they may need to draft a receiver. We'll have to wait and see. I also think that, the big issue with New England, they signed Josh Uche to a 1-year deal. 2 years ago, he had 15.5 sacks. I think he had 4 last year. If he has a double-digit sack season, you may need to replace him as well. Keon White was their second-round pick out of Georgia Tech last year, and I don't know why. I don't know if it was an injury or he's just learning the Belichick defense because he's a really raw dude, but he's super athletic. He's going to get an opportunity to replace Judon, and I think he's going to do really, really, really well. Keep an eye out on Keon White. One of my biggest draft crushes last year. Oh my God, I'm behind on comments, so I apologize about that. Sorry, I had to take a call. What do you think about Xavier Worthy, though? I saw a video of him getting tossed around in practice like a pinball. Never really. I'm not high on the kid. We'll have to wait and see. I wasn't a big fan of the pick. I didn't like the Chiefs traded up. All these wide receivers that broke the bank by running a fast 40 time never really panned out. John Ross, he was the guy who ran the 4.22, 9th overall pick in the draft, never did anything. And John Ross was a big dude. John Ross was like 6'1", 190. I mean, he was more than a fast dude. I love John Ross coming out of Washington. One thing about Worthy, though, that Chiefs coaches and other players have commented on is that he's not overwhelmed by the playbook, which is a big deal in Kansas City. Kansas City runs that really the Andy Reid offense might be the most complex in football, and he's has a good knowledge of what they're trying to do offensively, and that's a big deal. I'll be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if 3 years from now he's on another team or cut. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I loved Hollywood Brown. Not big on Xavier Worthy. I don't know what the plans are, but we could see Juju Smith-Schuster play week 1. Judon in Detroit would have been awesome, BD Buster. That would have been awesome. And apparently he was going to go to Chicago, but Chicago, I saw this in Hard Knocks, that Chicago only wanted to make the trade if they had a contract in play, just like they did with Montez Sweat. And apparently they knew they couldn't get the contract. Atlanta said they didn't give a shit. They'll just rent them out. We'll find out. Oh, my God. Denver Gator! Oh, snap. What's up, football nerds? And Denver Gator was telling me, hey, Dan, make sure you take North Dakota State. 8.5. And then I saw it was like 9.5 because people are buying into the Colorado hype. Denver Gator is right. So hopefully I can have Denver Gator give me a lot more college info as the season comes on. So I still, overall talent-wise, Philly is better than Dallas. The things can Philly coaching staff get? Yeah. So talent-wise, I think if you had to rank teams' talent, I would put Philly at number 1 in the NFL, not just AFC East. Can Fangio turn the defense around? Can Kellen Moore, who's always been a pass-happy coach, work with Jalen Hurts, who ran for 15 touchdowns last year? I don't know. The talent's there. Let's see about everything else. I personally think it would have been a great fit. But the one thing about Judon is that he can rush after the passer, but he's so multifaceted. And what I really like about Judon is he's really solid against the run. So at Slash, that was a good thing to hear for Denver. Any word on how Penix did in preseason? All right. He had a rough first game, but he will develop though. Did Atlanta play Philly or something? So who's my worst first this year? I'm actually wanted to get the video out, but the video ideally will be out tomorrow. But I'm gonna ruin it now. But it's the Cincinnati Bengals because I almost had the video completed. I just got to put some stuff in there. But no, I had the Cincinnati Bengals as my worst first. Cincinnati is Jamar Chase. It's just he's going to play week 1, but it's just a matter of time. I think Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, they got some young talent at receiver. I think the defense will be a lot better than it was last year. And I think Baltimore and Cleveland on paper, except for the Chubb injury, looks better. But I'm kind of curious when Chubb gets off the PUP list, is this going to be the same Nick Chubb, who's one of the 5 best running backs in football? Or is he going to be a 29-year-old running back who's had 4 or 5 season-ending injuries? And that kind of bothers me. So that's kind of why. Because like I look at the Browns defensively, and I'm like, this is a really good defense last year. And it's all young. It's all talented. And on paper, it looks like it could be better. But when I look at the Browns, I want to say that they're going to take a step forward, but I can't really do that. Besides that, Deshaun Watson was banged up in preseason. So Pittsburgh is an old saying, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you only have one. I know Russell Wilson was probably deemed to be a starter, but I think Justin Fields will sooner or later take over. So long story short, Bengals. Yeah. I think the Saints and 49ers need to blow up and rebuild with young players. The Saints do. The 49ers really think that they're on the verge of winning a Super Bowl. That's why they don't want to do it. Brandon Ayuk technically is a young player. I didn't think he would be back. I think that it was, I don't think the 49ers really want to do that because I think that they believe that they're on the verge. The Saints, if they don't make the playoffs this year, they have to. I mean, they got so much age on defense. Derek Carr's not the long-term answer, but they like Spencer Rattler. So let's see. I told you Nix was going to start to Dan, but you were right about me. I've been saying I thought Nix was going to be the starter. And then with Drake May, I think the Patriots are doing it right. I really think they're doing it right. Sit him on the bench. Brissett's been a little banged up, and then apparently May's outplayed Brissett in training camp, and that's a good thing. But we'll have to wait and see, but I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised the way I'm hearing of what's coming out of New England is if sooner or later May gets to start. Nick's going to start day one. I've been saying that all along. But Jaden Daniels, I think Jaden Daniels and Kingsbury are going to work perfect. I really do. The NFC South could be a fun division or a disaster of one. Yeah, Falcons made a lot of big moves. The ceiling is incredibly high because can Cousins unlock Kyle Pitts? All right. I just saw a fantasy football trade, which floored me because the guy who made the trade, I can't, I'm drawing another name freeze here. Number 7 in Atlanta, the running back, their first round pick out of Texas. And I can't believe a couple name changes, right? A couple name breakdowns. But John Robinson, he traded John Robinson for Kyron Williams and Terry McLaughlin, the Washington Commanders receiver. And I'm like, that's a terrible trade. But if John Robinson morphs into the player everybody thinks he's going to be, then it's going to be a good trade. The reason why I don't like it for fantasy football is because they have Tyler Algier, who's going to be more of a short yardage dude. So I think he'll take away a lot of the touchdowns. That's why I really don't like that move for fantasy. But yeah, so Atlanta has a lot of things going on. I like Baker Mayfield staying in Tampa. Like I said, the Saints were a sleeper, but the offensive line looks like it's going to be a shit show. Carolina, I think, is doing all the right things. But I don't see any way that they're going to be good this year. You kept the defensive coordinator. You got rid of the coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball. You bring in an offense-minded coach. Great. In the draft, you draft a couple of very talented but raw offensive players. Great. Defensively, well, we're going to get rid of all the good players except for Derek Brown, their best player, and they gave him a lot of money. Smart. Of all things Carolina Panthers did, the smartest thing they did was sign Derek Brown. Derek Brown is a monster. If he played for Dallas and Dallas was going to the playoffs, this would be a top 10 defensive tackle, and it would be a no-brainer because he plays for 2-win Carolina Panthers, a small market, terrible team. Nobody knows how good this guy is. Signed him to a lot of money. Hands down the smartest thing Carolina did. But then all their good players are gone. Jeremy Chin gone. Franklin Lavue gone. He didn't really produce a lot, but Yader Grossmatis player I was really, really high on, gone. Remember they traded Dante Jackson for Deontay Johnson. Smart move because you need some receivers to throw to. You can't. I really don't think. I think Thielen will be their number one receiver, but you can't have Thielen get 10 to 15 targets again every single game. You need other guys. And then you draft the kid out of USC. I'm drawing a complete blank. Leggett. He's not going to be ready right away. But I like what Carolina's doing long term. It's just I see no way that they're going to be good this year. None. I think McCarthy was going to start too before he got injured. I don't. I think Darnold was going to get the start, but the one thing is that they were really high. Like McCarthy, his first preseason game played lights out. In training camp, he was looking awesome. And Darnold's only there for 1 year, so I mean, there's definitely a possibility. But I think Darnold was going to start day one. But McCarthy looked better than advertised. So we'll have to wait and see. I think this could be a blessing in disguise for Minnesota because Darnold, barring injury, gets to be a starter for a whole year. World of talent. Finally playing with an offensive-minded coach. Finally gets to play with weapons. Let's see what he can do. Because if he can't do anything, well, hey, guess what? Here's a clipboard, or maybe you can go sell insurance or do whatever. But if he produces, you got McCarthy. I mean, is this going to be a situation like with Trey Lance that you want to send him away? I don't know. But I think it's going to be a blessing in disguise for everybody. Darnold may have a great year, goes somewhere else, makes a lot of money. Maybe they re-sign him to another deal and say, hey, look, we'll give you a chance, or I don't know. McCarthy, maybe he learns. Maybe he's in there studying. I don't know. I have no idea. But this could be a situation where McCarthy returns next year better than ever. He'll have the playbook down. He'll see how everything reacted in the offseason, during the season, from the bench. I've always believed that sending a rookie quarterback into the fire is not the right move, even though it's the trend. But a guy like McCarthy, I think, would benefit from the sidelines. Well, we'll wait and see. But I think Darnold was going to be a dude. I think he can. And I think that so here's some bold predictions. I think Jaden Daniels is going to win Rookie of the Year. I think the Washington Commanders offense is going to be better than people think, and I think Kingsbury is going to be a interesting name in circles. He's going to be interviewed. Now, whether he gets a job or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I think that he'll be a candidate to be a head coach next year. Washington, I believe, is giving him a ton of money to stay, to be the offensive coordinator this year in Washington, and he could stay again. But this could be a lot of fun. But yeah, I do, because I think Jaden Daniels can do everything Caleb Williams can. I really do. So Denver Gators not lying here. By the way, I am very, very, very behind on comments. Denver Gator has been saying this because I've been calling Knicks to Denver in almost all my mock drafts, and me and Denver Gator believe that Knicks was the perfect fit for Sean Payton. And you should be excited. I think teams need to start rookie quarterbacks year one and no later than year two. It's better to find out fast. That it used to be. Well, take a look at Jordan Love. Jordan Love started his first game, I think it was year two, and he looked horrible, and I thought he was a bust. And then finally, when he did play the first half, he didn't look good. And the second half, he looked really good. So you have Jordan Love. You also have C.J. Stroud. You threw into the fire and hey, this dude can play. Bryce Young had some moments, but that was a disaster, so I'm not blaming Bryce Young. I've always felt that if you're an NFL team and you really want to build up a rookie quarterback, let him sit for year one. But Perry, there's a lot of people that think the same way you do. There's a lot of Hall of Fame quarterbacks that just were thrown into the fire and had bad rookie seasons, but ended up being Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Peyton Manning's one of them. Probably the best one. His rookie season was not good. Now, Josh Allen was bad for his first 2 years. And it's funny because Bills Mafia is all like, no, he's playing good. No, he's bad. Then they made the big trade for Stephon Diggs. Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator, kept on working with him. So they had some offensive continuity, plus they got some weapons. Why Brian Daboll and Sean McDermott hate each other, I have no clue. But Josh Allen had to wait till year 3. Jordan Love, year 4? Patrick Mahomes sat for a year. There's not a better quarterback than Mahomes. Biased, of course. So, but here's the deal, Perry. There's a lot of people that think that way. There's nothing wrong with that either. I mean, that's the reason why Mac Jones is in Jacksonville and Kenny Pickett's in Philly. Trey Lance is throwing for 5 interceptions in a preseason game in Dallas. So, yeah. I'm tired of Holmes signing too many injuries players. I'm tired of what ifs if this guy can stay healthy. I just wanted to make an impact. So, yeah, I get that. I really do. I understand. I get that. I want to sit here and tell you if, but you're sick of hearing me say that. And I don't blame you. I don't blame you. With the extra 3rd round picks, the Pats have 4 picks in the first 3 rounds. Should that be 4 starters to give them some flexibility? Yeah, and bottom line, the Patriots, unfortunately, might need to trade up. They might need to. Or they could do what they've done in the past, trade down, stockpile. So, Your picks are picks for teams that will regress and end up being in top 15. Oh, teams that will regress. I kind of said it already. The Saints look like they're kind of sliding backwards. Top 15. God, I have the video coming out tomorrow, ideally, but I could see the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I could see the Pittsburgh Steelers under Tomlin having their first losing record. I could see Russell Wilson not working out, and I think if they threw Justin Fields into training camp and said, "Hey, you're going to be our number 1 guy," I think it would work. I can see the Steelers being that 7 or 8 win team. Tomlin having his first, losing season, and picking in the top half and saying, "Hey, we got to hit on the quarterback." In the NFC, the 49ers are really thin at a lot of positions, and that's why I wasn't a big fan of the Ayuk trade or signing. The 49ers could very easily do. Remember the Rams won a Super Bowl next year. They're what, 4 or 5 wins, something like that. And then this last season, of course, they got to the playoffs. But I can see the 49ers with a few injuries being in a lot of trouble because they're very thin. So right now, no. And they're kind of stalling on that. And right now, Purdy's good with it. And the reason why he's good with it, because he's like, well, you know what? Look, I got it. And by the way, this is smart of Purdy because he's in a good offensive system. He has a good offensive coach. He's got plenty of playmakers surrounding him. And what's going on with the quarterback price? They're going higher and higher and higher. And so he doesn't have to lead the NFL in passing yards. He doesn't have to do anything overly spectacular. He just has to play within a system. And he's going to get 50, 60, he's going to get that money sooner or later. It's not anything going away. I've never been to San Francisco. I mean, I know it's expensive to live. It's funny because I know he has a roommate, but I mean, if you're a professional athlete, even if you aren't making a lot of money, which Purdy isn't, you're still, there's still a lot of perks. I've never been to San Francisco. I'll be honest, I have no interest in going to San Francisco. I live in Vegas now, so I'm not too far away, but I have no interest in going visit San Francisco. But I'm told it's a pretty cool place. I'm told it's a pretty cool place. But do they have a cap? No. And if I'm Purdy, I'm just standing pat, and I'm not playing hardball yet, because sooner or later I'm going to get a large amount of money, whether it's from San Francisco or another team, probably with San Francisco. May should be out playing him. May's upside is very high. It's very, very, very high. And I think having him sit early is going to be smart. Me and Keaton Talk Sports brings up a very great question. Who's my number one pick in next year's draft? Me and Denver Gator 100% agree it's going to be Shadir Sanders, Deion's son. And Deion has already been public saying we're going to interfere. If you're a team we don't like, we're not going to mess with you. We're just, and Deion posted something on social media about the, about who he wants him to go to. But I think the perfect fit, and I think where he's going to go is going to be to the New York Giants. And I think the Giants will have to trade up in the draft. But I'm looking at big boards already, and across the board, there's all sorts of defensive players. There's a defensive edge at Georgia. I was just reading who somebody says is the number one player. Tennessee has a defensive end who had 10.5 sacks last year as a sophomore. I'm hearing he's going to be like 260 and run a 4.45 at the combine. I can't think of his name right now. LSU has Harold Perkins, which I don't know why they used him off ball last year, but he looked as a true freshman. It was one of I'm like, oh my God. And I think they kind of mismanaged him a little bit, but I that's a first round player. There are LSU as a left tackle. I think that's going to go in the first round. I don't know how early, but right now today it's going to be Shadir Sanders, 445 and 4 touchdowns. By the way, Keaton, you could go to YouTube and just Google Shadir Sanders crazy interception. It's really weird. Like it bounced off the receiver's hands and like kicked off of a foot, and is one of those. The Pats need to give May reps and get the experience playing. Need to build a team around May going. A big problem I have with that is there's a massive hole at left tackle, and that's kind of the reason why I think that instead of replacing Judon, what they may need to do is trade up in the draft and get a stud left tackle, and I could see them doing that. It's also going to determine what they have to do in free agency as well. They got a guy in a third-round pick out of Penn State in this year's draft, and they got a former Steelers was Okafor. They got a maybe they got it fixed, but more than likely I could see New England like really trying to get an offensive line or maybe a receiver. I think New England's just going to struggle offensively, and I think getting May the opportunity to learn, and then waiting and giving him some weapons so he has a better chance to succeed would all be beneficial. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, because I think May might play some this year. I don't think Brissett's going to be a starter for the whole season. I think May will play some. It may be garbage time. They have a very late bye. I think it's week 13, something like that. If they're a 5-win team going into the bye, throw May out there. I could see that. The Bucks are one of those teams that can go either way. I wish I would have done my videos, all of them out, but I've been really high on the Bucks. I think signing Baker Mayfield was smart. They were able to get Mike Evans, also smart. Antoine Winfield. By the way, BetUS has a nice yearly bet of Winfield over under 1.5 interceptions for the year. I know he only had 2 last year. I think I'm going to put some action on that, because Winfield's a guy I think that's going to have a big season, big contract this offseason. Fixed up the offensive line. I'm looking at Tampa Bay as one of those teams. It's like I kind of like what Tampa's doing. I really like what Tampa's doing. They're kind of a low key team, and I didn't when I was asked earlier about sleeper team. Well, they've won the last 3 NFC South titles, so are they really a sleeper? They're not favored, but yeah, I like what Tampa Bay's doing, but I've never been sold on Todd Bowles. So what to see? We will have to see. But yeah, I'm very high on the Bucks. I'm a lot higher on the Bucks than I think most people are, though. Keaton talks sports. Oh yeah. What team will be the number 1 pick in next year's draft? Okay. Here's the deal. Bear with me. I think somebody's going to trade up, but and Keaton's doing me a favor, because he knows I've been adamant about this for a while. But I think the Tennessee Titans at the end of the season will have the number 1. I think Tennessee is going to be the worst team in football. I don't like what they did in the offseason. I think they brought in, so you have Will Levis, who's going to be your starting quarterback. Then you bring in an offense that I don't think is tailored to what Will Levis does well at all. And then they're talking about Levis working on his footwork and trying to be more accurate. And I'm like, oh, God. By the way, Denver Gator absolutely loves Will Levis. He loves Will Levis so much that he is putting mayonnaise in his coffee, just like Will Levis, which is beyond disgusting, by the way. Is just awful. I just had some coffee with some creamer and some cinnamon, which is the correct way to do coffee. Mayonnaise is wrong. You don't put mayonnaise in coffee. Bad Will Levis. But Denver Gator loves the guy. I don't think it's going to work out. So I think Tennessee will end up holding the number 1 pick. I think that if I'm Deion Sanders and Shadir Sanders is number 1 pick, I can almost promise you Deion's going to go public and say, we're not going to Tennessee. Small market, probably going to need a new head coach if they are picking number 1 in the draft. So I can see a team like the Giants or Dallas, if they move on from Dak Prescott, which I don't think will happen. But by the way, Mike Zimmer has an excellent relationship with Deion Sanders. Just throwing that out there, but we'll see. Vikings could be drafting in the top 10. They could be. It's all depending on how good Sam Darnold could be, because if he realizes his potential, that offense is set up for success. The offensive line's good. Jordan Addison had 10 receiving touchdowns, some off-field issues, but 10 receiving touchdowns as a rookie. Justin Jefferson's as good as it gets. Hawkinson's on the PUP list, but he's Pro Bowl caliber tight end. I mean, you got weapons. I forgot. I forgot Aaron Jones, and that's a dude who doesn't need to be a top 10 running back. He needs to take a little bit of pressure off. But yeah, I could also see a situation where Darnold isn't the guy. That's why he's on, his what is it, fourth different team in 6 years. Aaron Jones doesn't have enough in the tank to carry the offense. Jordan Addison, those bad offseason decisions affect you this year. Justin Jefferson isn't the best receiver in football. And the defense did get rid of their best player. Danielle Hunter is one of those guys that I've always been a big fan of. So, easily. Rhinos Roundtable. I found your channel last week. Great content and very smart variety chat group. Yeah, we got a lot of different guys from a lot of different places. What are your thoughts on the Colts this year? So it's kind of funny because the Colts going into the draft, they picked 15th, and they were the team to draft the first defensive player, and they drafted Latu. And I was like, well, you got Kwity Paye, a former first-round pick, a guy that really started to come into his own. And then yet Edson Ecubon, I'm butchering that name probably. He I think was tied for the lead in sacks at 9.5. I know he had 9.5. He was there tied, or he led the team in sacks. I'm like, I don't know. Ecubon's out for the whole year. And there was talk that Latu, they were like, this dude looks like he could be TJ Watt 2.0 and the hype. Early on, so the Colts drafted Latu, and there's talk that he's going to have a monster year. Well, Ecubon going down, that just looks like a genius pick. Chris Ballard, he was the assistant general manager in Kansas City, helped build that team into the dynasty it is. Had a lot of impact in the Andy Reid's start. So it was John Dorsey. He brought in Chris Ballard. Matter of fact, when Dorsey stepped down as a general manager, the Chiefs reached out to the Colts to interview Ballard and say, hey, do you want to come back and be general manager of Kansas City? I was a little surprised because Irsay allowed the Chiefs permission to talk to his general manager, but he decided to stay with Indianapolis. Now, keep in mind, Andrew Luck was still there. And he's like, yeah, I think I'm good here. And I think that if he knew Andrew Luck was going to be retiring soon, he may have been the main guy in Kansas City, but excellent football mind. So you drafted Latu, and then Adonde Mitchell was the guy I thought Kansas City should have drafted in the first round. And I'm hearing that so you got two rookies, one on each side of the ball, that look like they're going to be impact players. That's not, and by the way, this team came very close to making the playoffs last year. So, answer your question. I have no idea because I don't know what you can do with Anthony Richardson. And then what do you do if Richardson goes down? Well, you got Joe Flacco. All right. Here's the difference between Joe Flacco and Anthony Richardson. Everything. I mean, you run the offense that you have built for Anthony Richardson, Joe Flacco can't run. And so if Richardson goes down, remember Richardson only played in 5 games. He started 5 games, finished 2. And you're counting on him to play 17. Okay, well, let's get back up. That can do a lot of things that he can do. So what do? Do you go after Tyler Huntley, who re-signed with Baltimore today? No, you didn't do that. All right, which by the way would have been good. What about Tyrod Taylor? Too expensive, and he's with the Jets. Smart move by the Jets. Well, let me see here. Who's a starter that's big and athletic that can do things? Well, what about Carson Wentz? No, he's in Kansas City. Well, what about Joe Flacco? Now, Joe Flacco was slow, but then he retired and he did some gunslinging in Cleveland, which is wildly entertaining. But I'm pretty sure I can outrun Joe Flacco. So if Anthony Richardson stays healthy for 17 games, I don't know what to think, because I mean, how many quarterbacks are there that are 250 who run a 4.4? The answer is zero. There's never been one. Throw in this phenomenal arm. Okay. I mean, Cam Newton, Cam Newton was almost the same size. Cam Newton wasn't nearly that fast. Josh Allen's not that fast, but the closest comparison that you have is a faster Josh Allen, little less arm strength. Can you build a team around that dude? Can Jonathan Taylor stay healthy? Normally, running backs with a huge workload that start to break down don't bounce back up. The offensive line's good. I like Pittman. Josh Downs is down for a little bit. Jelani Woods, a former third-round pick guy I loved, he's out for the year. Man, they got some players I like on defense. Latu could be defensive rookie of the year. All right, so long-winded answer of I don't know. They could be as good as anybody in football. Kwity Paye was a guy coming out of Michigan I absolutely loved. He started to get back on track. He started to get on track. Latu, there's no ceiling on how good he could be on the other side. You got some good players in the back half. You have a fast defense in an indoor stadium. You have a quarterback who runs a 4.43 who's 250. Jonathan Taylor, if you tell me Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson play all 17 games, I'm saying that's welcome to the playoffs. That's my answer. Stop. Rhino's Roundtable, man. Thanks for joining, man. You got some great people here in the chat. It's good to have a Colts fan, man. Good to have a Colts fan. That's kind of cool. The Judon trade will hurt in the short term, but I think it'll be a blessing in the long term. Judon didn't really want out. He wanted a new contract, and the Patriots like, well, you played 4 games last year. We got a lot of youth on the defensive side of the ball. I understood, but I fully expected Judon to stay with the team, though. That's the thing. It makes sense that he's been traded, but I fully expected him not to be. So we'll have to figure it out. I will say this. I still expect the Patriots to have a top 10 defense. That defense is still going to be good even without Judon. Allen took time to develop. I think Dable was the reason. Yeah, I think Dable's a big part of it. Diggs is a big part of it. I know McDermott's more of a defensive-minded dude, but I think McDermott had something to do with it. At least I want to think so. I don't know why. I would love to know why McDermott and Dable don't like each other, though. I'd love to know that. But that's why I'm not a fan of starting quarterbacks right away, because we live in a day and age where if he's not good right away, let's trade him or let's bench him or we'll figure it out. If Texas fails to win the national championship, does Arch Manning? No, Arch Manning is going to start in 2025. And Arch Manning is going to have a world of talent surrounding him playing in the SEC. And I would not be surprised if Arch Manning wins a Heisman in 2025 and is the number one pick in the 2026 draft, but absolutely not. He's licking his chops because Quinn Ewers is going, probably barring injury, going to be a first round pick. If he does get hurt, Arch Manning's going to come in and he's not going to give up that starting job. Quinn Ewers will probably transfer somewhere. Yeah. Yeah. By the way, yeah, rent in San Francisco is insane. They were talking to his family. It's like, my rent here was $1,800 a month, and I tried to re-sign my lease, so it was $4,800 a month. So I'm homeless, and homelessness is a big deal in California. I could go down the rent, but yeah, San Francisco. I think real estate in San Francisco is like the most expensive in the world. I work with a couple of guys that are from LA, and they all say the same thing. It's absolutely beautiful. It's just too expensive to live there. I know LA, San Francisco, not even really close to each other, but both are really high-priced places to go to. The bucket list of places, even though I am literally 2 hours from LA, like I could drive to LA, no big deal. I have zero interest in going to LA. I'd be much more apt to go back home to Kansas City or to Brazil, which is on my bucket list. Denver Gator. I by the way, I only paid Denver Gator $200 to say this, but Denver Gator is awesome. Giving some love to Rhino here. Welcome to the best football chat on the tubes, Rhino. I personally think the Colts finished second to the Texans, competing for the playoffs and fall short right at the end. Probably going to be a team to spoil. I just want to touch base on the Colts. Jonathan Taylor stays healthy for 17 games. Who knows how good he could be? I mean, he had season. He ran for over 1,800 yards, and second place was like 1,300. I mean, he really is that elite type of a player, but he handled a heavy workload in college. His first couple years in the league, handled a heavy workload. Then it was funny, the first time he missed practice, he goes, this is the first time I ever missed practice ever, and then he missed several games. So it's unlikely he's going to play 17, but if he does play 17, that's dangerous. The problem I have with Anthony Richardson is that you got the worst possible replacement, Joe Flacco, because if Flacco goes in, you have to have a whole different playbook for a guy like Joe Flacco. If you would have signed Carson Wentz or Tyler Huntley or even Josh Johnson, there's a handful of backups that can kind of sort of do what Anthony Richardson is able to do on some level. But you signed the polar opposite in Joe Flacco. The only two things that these two guys have in common is they both have big arms. So, like, the passing aspect will be the same, but there should be for Anthony. If I'm running the Colts offense, I want a ton of RPO because, by the way, that's what he was doing early on, and because he's only 21, he's a young kid, he's still learning, he's still developing. I don't want to throw out a complete NFL playbook. Yeah, I know he was injured last year. He should know the offense. Great, I understand that. He's also a 21-year-old kid who only started a handful of games in college at Florida. I don't want this guy trying to make audibles. I don't want this guy overthinking. I want to make this transition as easy as possible. So, yeah, I want RPOs. I want easy reads. I want a lot of 1-2 throw away, 1-2 run. I don't want him going 1-2, check that, option route here. I don't want him doing any of that stuff. I also want him doing a lot of this to Jonathan Taylor. Just hand off here, pitch here. I don't want him. Here's how you beat the Colts. Have Anthony Richardson go back there and throw 50, 60 times. Where do the Texas quarterbacks go in the draft? Quinn Ewers is a first-round pick, and Arch Manning is better. I don't care that you can call it open competition all you want. Quinn Ewers is going to be a first round pick, barring injury. I I don't think he's going to be like that number one pick in the draft. Quinn Ewers is going to put up some big numbers this year for Texas. Not tomorrow, but I think it's next Saturday. Texas plays Michigan, and I think Texas will win. So then you'll see the Quinn Ewers hype train go. So, Ed Rhino, do you think AR-15 improved enough during the offseason? We'll have to figure it out. I will actually put mayo in my coffee if Levis turns out to be a good though. But some great questions by Perry at Keaton. What kind of year stats-wise will you be happy with Polk? I'd love to know that, Keaton. If you're here, I'd love to hear that one. No, Sky Moore did not get cut. I was semi-surprised because, no, let me rephrase that. I was semi-surprised that Moore barely played in the last preseason game, meaning that the Chiefs are happy with him. Sky Moore was a guy that's been wildly disappointing, and I thought it could be a cap casualty with Kadarius Toney, but instead the Chiefs are happy with him, but they did bring in Juju Smith-Schuster for a reason. I wouldn't be surprised if Moore is traded or if he's cut next year, but as of right now, he's still on the team, and I know the Chiefs had some high expectations last year. I'm not hearing anything this year, so I was kind of thinking he might be a cap casualty, but they were so disappointed in Toney. I will say this about Sky Moore. He's a smart dude. He's a good locker room guy. And we'll have to see. I'm excited because Sky Moore's one of those guys I'm just hoping is a late bloomer because I think the talent's there. I think the mental makeup's there. It's just that the production's not even close to where I was expecting. I thought he'd be 1,000-yard receiver last year. I think he had like 200 or something ridiculous. So. With the Bucs, it comes down to Baker. If he regresses, the Bucs could be picking top 5. You're 100% correct, Perry. Tampa Bay put some emphasis on fixing the offensive line, but they were dead last in rushing yards the last 2 years. They didn't draft a running back, which I was a little surprised about, but that's something that. Yeah, if Baker doesn't have a good season, because they have to throw the ball. Dave Canales, he was the offensive coordinator. He's now the head coach in Carolina. How big of an impact is that going to have? Because Todd Bowles is kind of he's a defensive coach, and what defensive coaches like to do, they want to run the ball. And the offense really struggled the first half of the season. That's when Canales was like, "Look, I got Baker Mayfield. What's Baker Mayfield do well?" Well. He's Baker Mayfield, I think, is an above average quarterback, but I think his ceiling's like somewhere between like 10 and 12. Like I think Cleveland made the right move in not giving Mayfield elite money, but I think Baker can be pretty good. If he's not pretty good, is this offensive line good enough? Can they run the ball even though they didn't really get a running back? The Bucs are the one team that I thought would go running back in the draft, and they didn't. That was kind of a surprise. But I like the players that they picked up. I think the Bucs are going to have a good defense, and I think Baker is going to have a pretty good year. Am I going to call Baker Mayfield a top 10 quarterback? Probably not. But could he be like number 10? Sure. But you're right. And by the way, if the Bucs do pick top 5, everybody's gone, and they're going to draft a quarterback. And let's see who it is. Maybe it's Quinn Ewers. Who reminds me a lot of Baker Mayfield, by the way. I already read that. The Vikings lose Addison to injury. I knew he was a little banged up, but I was under the impression he was going to play. Is this a new thing? If somebody can give me an idea. Perry, I know you don't do social media, but I do have my email, dantalksfootball@yahoo.com. If it comes down to if you have an article, send it to me, or tag me on something, but I will be paying attention to that. I will be paying attention to that. I thought he was banged up in training camp. I was under the impression he was good to go for week 1. If this is something new, please let me know. Now that the Broncos cut Perrine, I think he may end up in Dallas. Who out there is better? Denver Gator, I am very excited to tell you that he has signed and is on the 53-man roster to your Kansas City Chiefs. And I love this by Andy Reid. So Andy Reid, we had a guy by the name of something Prince who was getting a lot of hype in social media, but they released him. I think he signed with Jacksonville or it was Jacksonville or one other team. Maybe in Tampa Bay. I think it was a Florida team. It wasn't Dolphins, though. But anyway, Perrine is in Kansas City, and he's going to be the third down back in Kansas City. And I'm really excited about it. I think this is a genius move by the Kansas City Chiefs. Genius move by the Kansas City Chiefs. So, yeah, it comes down to Brian Callahan. Can he develop Will Levis? And if they can, then you have something. But Levis is a big-armed quarterback who's best suited, in my opinion, to go with a vertical type of offense. Do you remember Seattle when they won they had that where they won the Super Bowl and then lost the Super Bowl with Wilson's interception? Dak Prescott, his rookie season, they used running ability, and Levis can move around. He's not a scrambler, but he can move around. But you have the threat of throwing downfield. When I watch the Cincinnati Bengals offense, it's always very quick rhythm timing. It's ding, 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 ding. That's not Will Levis. That wasn't him at college. I never saw that at college. I never saw it on the pro level. This is a dude who's a big dude. He's like 6'3", 235, hits the gym, big time arm. Really big time arm. And when he had success at Tennessee is he's throwing downfield, but he's not sitting here trying to pick you apart. And that's never been his game. And this is why I think Tennessee is like putting a square peg in a round hole. That's why I got Tennessee picking number 1, because the whole team just looks mismatched in all the wrong ways. So. Well, Dallas just signed Dalvin Cook. So Dallas signed Dalvin Cook not too long ago. And Dalvin Cook should have been in Dallas months ago, but Dalvin Cook is just signed with the Dallas Cowboys, and Perrine is with your Kansas City Chiefs. Perrine to Kansas City, I think, could be an absolute steal because he's a third down back with some size. He can pass protect. And one thing about Pacheco, who I love Pacheco, don't get me wrong, I love Pacheco. He runs so hard, he's going to miss 4 to 6 games. I mean, that's just been his MO. Like he's wildly productive when he plays, but he's going to miss a few games. Well, you get a guy like Perrine, like that can come in and play. CEH, of course, Chiefs former first-round pick. Chiefs declined a 5th-year option. Chiefs re-signed him, but I don't know what the expectations are there. But so signing Perrine is a low-key, really good move by the Kansas City Chiefs. Sorry about that. Yeah, Tony's cut hasn't signed with anybody yet. He will sign with someone. He will sign with somebody, but no, Kansas City. I predicted this too. I after last season, the Chiefs also brought in some really good receivers, and of course, Worthy and. They have some. Justin Ross is a guy who got cut in preseason. He's back on the practice squad. It wouldn't surprise me if he gets promoted to the active roster. There's this kid, Remigio, out of Fresno State, who Kansas City is in love with. I thought he might make the roster, got cut, signed to the practice squad. Don't be surprised if he gets a chance to play this year. So, I don't understand Dallas bringing in Ezekiel Elliott. I don't think he'll do much in Dallas. I think that there were better running backs. So Dalvin Cook is a good fit, but part of it is that he was drafted the same year Dak Prescott was. They were best friends. I think that they wanted to bring in somebody that had familiarity with Dak and the offense, and I think a lot of it is that after leaving Dallas, I think Ezekiel. By the way, you can say a lot of things about Jerry Jones, but one thing he does do is that everything about the Dallas Cowboys is first rate. Their training facilities, their lounge, their locker room. Dallas is a great place to live. I visited Dallas. It's great nightlife. Women are smoking hot. Dallas is a great place to live. I think he went up to New England. I think he won 4 games. I think he's like, this sucks. Hey, I can come to Dallas. I'll have a chance to compete for a Super Bowl. I'm familiar. I'm going to get paid well. I'm not saying the Patriots facilities are crap, because the Patriots owner is one of 5 to 10 owners that are richer than Jerry Jones. I'm not saying, but maybe I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. He's from St. Louis, so I mean, I know he's used to the cold, but maybe he didn't like being up north. I don't know, but 5 years ago, Ezekiel Hill would have been like a hand in a glove. We'll have to see. By the way, he didn't play terrible in New England, but you could clearly see the burst isn't there. Ezekiel Elliott used to be a guy that was a threat to score almost anywhere on the field. He's not that guy anymore. So I remember the 60s song about going to San Francisco. I know. I know what you're talking about. The 2094 song should be I Am Leaving San Francisco. It's funny. It's funny because I live in Vegas, and I tell people, yeah, I've never been to California, and I get looked at really weird. And then when I talk about the Chiefs, I get the same looks. So, tomato. But it's funny. Yeah, I'm 2 hours from LA. No interest in going. If AR-15 goes down, the Colts would be picking. It's funny because Flacco did such a good job with the Colts last year. And overall, I look at the team. You got Jonathan Taylor, who can carry that team by himself if he's healthy. I actually think Jonathan Taylor playing 17 is more important than Anthony Richardson playing 17. The problem I have with Joe Flacco going to the Colts is that you have to run a completely different offense. If Anthony Richardson goes down, you bring in Flacco, you got a different playbook now. That's my problem. I think that they should have brought in somebody who's a little more mobile that can do a lot of the same things. And there were guys available. I think this was kind of a swing and a miss by the Colts. But if Anthony Richardson plays all 17 games, then you're hopefully maybe. Bottom line, you don't know. You really don't know. The key is really, I think, Jonathan Taylor, because if I'm the Colts, hey, he held out. He wanted all that money. He got all that money. If Anthony Richardson goes down, well, guess who gets 30 touches a game every single game? And then you have Flacco throw downfield. But is Flacco going to know the whole offense? Find out. He didn't play much, but he did have a solid preseason. Xavier Worthy looked good. Hollywood Brown looked good. Jared Wiley, a 4th-round tight end, who will be Kelsey's replacement sooner or later. I think sooner than most Chiefs fans want to admit. But yeah, he had a decent preseason. Of course, the offseason was terrible, but he played pretty well. Perry, I'm not sure the exact stats, but he's definitely the best wide receiver based off that we did in the preseason. Also depends on how Brissett performs. And he's talking about Polk, their 2nd-round pick out of University of Washington. They also drafted a guy, Javon Baker, I think 4th or 5th round out of University of Central Florida, and Alabama transfer. A guy I'm very high on could do some things here. So, and this was about the so I know Jordan Addison was banged up. From what I know, he's good to go. He's just banged up. So the Cards could be a surprise in the NFC West. If Murray is engaged, makes good chemistry with Harrison, running back they picked up, could have a day one impact. So I know that. Oh crap! The running back they drafted in the 3rd round out of Florida State, complete blank on his name. I know he's banged up, but he's a guy that I've been like telling people, like, if you're a fantasy, just like keep an eye out on this kid. Complete blank on his name. Darius Robinson, their other 1st round pick, late in the 1st round, defensive lineman out of Missouri. Guy I'm very, very, very high on. He's going to be out for like 4 to 6 weeks. But you're right, because that defense, now the defense needs to step up, okay? But you're right. But I mean, I think the Rams are a team that's scary. I think the Rams are scary. San Francisco, of course, went to a Super Bowl last year. I don't know why I just had a brain freeze on the other. Seattle, I think Seattle's a team. A lot of people are high on Seattle. I think that they're going to take a step back. I'm kind of not a fan of what they're doing, to be honest, but we'll have to wait and see. A lot of people are very high on the Seahawks. I am not. But no, I think the Cardinals are a team that you should really, if you're in the NFC, I think you should really be afraid of the Cardinals, because what Kyler Murray can do is just crazy. He's never ran. I don't know what his 40 time is. I just watched him in college several times, and I've watched him in the NFL. He might be the fastest. I would bet anything he can outrun Lamar Jackson. I think Kyler Murray is one of the fastest players in football, and I know he messed up his knee, but I mean, the thing is with Murray is that he's one of those guys who's, I think, the fastest quarterback in football. But unlike a lot of running quarterbacks, he has what I talked about earlier with Will Levis. Kyler Murray can do that. Kyler Murray can go back there, ding, 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 ding. He doesn't have any receivers. He likes to run around and by the way, how fast is he? Let's just call him a 4.3 guy just for fun. I mean, I don't know what he runs. If I have a defensive lineman chasing me and I can use my 4.3 speed to run away, or I can throw the ball and get hit, which one am I doing? I'm running away from the defensive lineman who I know I am faster than. So I don't blame him for that. And he does have the ability to go back, but I understand why he runs, and I would do the same thing. The talent's off the chart. Marvin Harrison Jr., I mean, if he's anything close to his Hall of Fame father, and by the way, he's bigger and faster, that's a scary team. Can the defense improve? Because if the defense improves, Murray's engaged, healthy, Harrison is everything people thought he would be. Because I thought he was the best player in college football last year. I really did. Did he deserve the Heisman? I don't know. I probably would have voted Harrison as the Heisman winner, because I thought he was the best player in college football, even though Jaden Daniels did some ridiculous stuff towards the end of the season. But you're right. I'm paying attention, but here's the problem. When I start talking about the Cardinals, if this guy's hurt. So yeah, when you start throwing out those ifs, then you have problems. Yeah, I know he's banged up, but I think he's going to play week 1. Oh my God! The B in the Back Talk Brothers, the great one, the talent, Gooch. Yes. I got the more talented of the Back Talk brothers. Keys has said that he will try to join me when I start doing Afternoon Delight starting September 9th. So no show next Friday, but Monday I will be on for Afternoon Delight, 1 Vegas time, 4 Eastern, for 3 hours of football talk Monday through Friday. Gooch says, sorry I came late, boys, but good to see you. Add a little talent to your day. God, I love Gooch. God, I love Gooch. Gooch bringing the talent. Gooch, hopefully you have some time. 6 days from now, I will be live. My first game will be Chiefs Ravens 6 days from now. 6 days from now. God, I'm excited about football season. Yeah, P. Ryan signed with the Chiefs, and I would say, except for Detroit signing Tim Patrick, this is maybe the best signing. Jared McKinnon wasn't re-signed. The Chiefs need a third down back, so P. Ryan hand in the glove. Excellent pass protector. I also like the fact that he's a bigger, more physical runner, but he's been used as a third down back, which is kind of weird because I know coming out of Oklahoma he wasn't really that good of a receiver, but he just kind of embraced the role. But yeah, a really low key. Oh, let me rephrase that. Dalvin Cook signing with the Cowboys, I've been saying for months should happen. It finally happened, and it's the best thing possible. And it's what should have happened a long time ago. That's number one. I think number two, probably Tim Patrick to the Lions. And I think a large part of that is because I for whatever reason, Jameson Williams hasn't worked out. Now, if Jameson Williams starts to blow up, then who cares? But P. Ryan to Kansas City's genius. No, he won't. The reason why is that Steele is going to play special teams and is going to be a fullback. P. Ryan's going to be the third down back. P. Ryan's going to play immediately. Steele's basically going to be on special teams and short yardage. But the thing is about P. Ryan is that P. Ryan has enough size that he can handle short yardage runs. But I think Steele will be like the short yardage. I think Steele will be like that, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. So, but no. And Steele's a great story, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if he touches the ball less than 20 times in the season. Where P. Ryan, I think, will have about 100 touches, maybe more. Keaton talks sports. By the way, Keaton, before the show, it was funny. I just saw your message, Keaton, a few literally minutes before the show, and he's like, "Hey Dan, listen, let's help each other out. Can you put a link to my channel in the description?" And I felt by the way, I didn't respond because I literally saw the message minutes before I came on. But there is a link to Keaton Talk Sports below. He's doing a lot of really great content. His Instagram is really awesome. I love what he's doing on Instagram. He's posting out videos, and I've been begging Keaton Talk Sports to help me out with Afternoon Delight. And he told me that if his schedule works out, he can come on during the week. And the whole point of it is that he wants to build his channel, and I want to help build his channel because he's got some really great stuff. As a co-host, he's been absolutely great. The talent, whenever I can get him on, is fantastic. Keys has a lot of different things going on. For those of you that don't know, Keys has 46 kids. He looks at his wife and she's pregnant. But for the afternoon delight portion, his schedule's not going to conflict, but hopefully I'll get a lot of Keaton Talk Sports. I'm begging to get some talent on the show, and I haven't reached out, but I think I will have Luke G come. I know Luke G will be on the show sometime. I just don't know when, unfortunately. But Keaton is got a really great channel, and I'm really excited to see what he does coming into this year, and hopefully I can get Keaton to come on some Afternoon Delight, which will be starting September 9th. Raved about Keaton's channel and didn't even read his comment. Keaton Talk Sports says, watch out for Seattle potential dark horse playoff team. Still have Metcalf, Njigba, Lockett. Also, defense will be nasty with McDonald and Byron Murphy there now. And there's a lot of people that agree with Keaton Talk Sports because you have a defensive-minded coach going into a place that has, I think, the best trio of receivers. Now, I have a huge man crush on Jackson Smith and Njigba. Huge man crush. But you know what I like about these three guys? All three of these guys have different skill sets, and all three of these guys have the potential to be a number one. Lockett runs maybe the best routes in the National Football League, maybe has the best hands. He's like 5'10", 180. DK Metcalf, for those of you who don't know, is 6'3", 230, 235, and tried out for the Olympics as a 100-meter sprinter. He was trying to be one of the fastest. By the way, they had 16 people compete. DK Metcalf finished 14th, which means he beat out two of the world's fastest runners in 100 meters. By the way, DK Metcalf is a football player, not a track star. I cannot emphasize how ridiculous it is that DK Metcalf even was able to try out and beat, even though it was only two, but he beat people in 100 meters. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And he's 6'3", 235 and built like a brick house. I mean, just built, but crazy. No receiver in football has a better size-speed combination. No player in the NFL is a better size-speed combination than DK Metcalf. I think Lockett's actually better than Metcalf. If I was just playing old school kindergarten, like which one am I picking? Like which one could I have on my team? I would take Lockett over Metcalf. But you can argue that. Most people would take Metcalf. Jackson Smith and Njigba is a combination of the two, and I think could be an absolute superstar. Go watch the Rose Bowl, Ohio State against Utah. By the way, Keaton Talk Sports, big Ohio State fan, so I know he knows the game. Njigba caught, I think it was 15 catches, 400 yards, 3 or 4 touchdowns in one of the best games I've ever seen in my life. It was the best game. Njigba set all sorts of receiving records. It was like 14 or 15 receptions. It was like 320 some yards. And he also had the game-winning touchdown, which was just genius. Now, part of that was because Chris Olave decided to sit out. The other wide receiver who was going to be drafted in the first round also set out for Ohio State. Utah had, I know, like their whole starting secondary is out. They had a guy who was a running back, like move over to corner right before the game. And I mean, there's a lot of weird things, but just the performance from the Njigba was one for the ages. And it was just such a great game. Such a great game. But anyway, I will always have a Jackson Smith and Njigba man crush. And he was injured, missed like the first couple weeks of the season, really started to come on. There's no ceiling how good he could be. Can Geno Smith be that guy in this new offense? Now, what Seattle's doing is they brought the University of Washington's offensive staff to Seattle. The head coach, of course, is taken over as the head coach in Alabama. So there's talent there. And anytime you take a defensive-minded coach with offensive talent, you have potential. I'm not that high on Seattle, and I'll tell you why. Number one, I think Pete Carroll is a much better coach than people think. McDonald benefited from having studs all over in that Baltimore defense. Look, I mean, you got Roquan Smith, you got Kyle Hamilton, Justin Matabuke, and then last year you added Javion Clowney, who played fantastic, by the way. You have everything there in Seattle. So we'll find out. We're gonna find out, but they lost, and they didn't have a good defense to begin with, and then they lose all their inside linebackers, and we'll find out. Never been a Geno Smith guy. Never been a Geno Smith guy. But they did trade for the former Washington quarterback. This is like my ninth name forgetting. Sam Howell. And Howell has no chance to really become the starter unless Geno Smith goes down. But I don't have a lot of faith in Geno Smith. Never have. So we'll find out. But yeah, there's a lot of people that believe that Seattle's a dark horse. I am not one of them. Yeah, they can be a dark horse. Can McDonald deal with the pressure of following a legendary coach for them? The Seahawks fans want to win. If that doesn't happen fast, does he have to survive the build? That's the problem, is that the defense was bad last year, and they lost their top three inside linebackers. So you go from Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen, the best inside linebacker duo in football, to a bunch of guys. Now they signed some guys, but some decent guys. I'm drawing a blank on who they are, but you're not getting anything close to as good as Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. Where's your Matabuke? You don't have him. Have you seen Kyle Hamilton play? I swear there was 3 of them playing against my Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. I mean, that dude is everywhere. So, I mean, you have to fix that defense, and Byron Murphy, I don't think is going to be enough. I think you need multiple additions into that defense. Right now, I mean, this to me looks like a team that needs to win shootouts. And I've never been a dude that's like, oh yeah, Geno Smith's the dude. I've never been that guy. I think the Cards draft was very good. I think, absolutely. The Cardinals, Darius Robinson, when he starts to play, is going to be, he's whenever he starts playing, I think he's going to be really good. He was a guy I absolutely loved. I would have wanted him here in Kansas City, but I understand why, because they went Karlaftis, FAU, then they signed Chris Jones, who drafted another defensive lineman in the first round. Didn't make sense, but Darius Robinson's exactly what the Cardinals need. So, if his knee holds up, absolutely. It's funny because I'm stealing something from Gooch. Gooch has said that that he joked around. He's got like an 80-year-old knee in a 24-year-old body, and I stole that from Gooch. So that it's all medical as far as I'm concerned. If his knee holds up, absolutely. I have no idea, but I think his knee and his availability is a big part of why New England let him go. I also think New England felt that, look, we brought in some young players. We're just going to go with the younger guys, not the older guy. Part of it, I have to believe, is an injury thing. But the thing is, with Juju in New England, Juju needed to be like the main guy, or at least the number 2 guy. And in Kansas City, he just has to be he just has to play, and there's a big difference. So, but we'll find out. It's I think I apparently the biggest issue in Kansas City was his knee, but I will say this: the year he was here in Kansas City, he played really well, and I really liked having him. I wanted him to stay. I knew he was going to be too expensive. Took a lot of money in New England. I suspect New England's like, yeah, your knee's not going to hold up, and it's $8 million to get rid of you. Yeah, whatever. Because he's still getting $8 million from New England. Kansas City's got given nothing, so it's a great move for Kansas City. Here are top free agents that can help teams out there. A lot of people saw the video of Kareem Hunt, and there's a lot of people that don't want to sign him, but Kareem Hunt is a I mean, that's a dude who should be on an NFL roster talent-wise. There's not 20 to 25 running backs better than Kareem Hunt. There really isn't. This is a dude who can play, and he can be a workhorse back, and he can catch the ball. Cleveland just he had an off-field issue that was made public, but since the cop let him go, there wasn't any issues. The video of him kicking the girl after he was adamant that there was nothing wrong, he didn't do anything. Then this video comes out. The Chiefs had to get rid of him after a Pro Bowl season. I mean, he was a key part in that Chiefs offense, and that was a big loss. But Kansas City bounced back, and one of the things Kansas City has done now is like, hey, look, we're just gonna have a bunch of different running backs. And when Pacheco's contract comes up, if it's not reasonable, they're just going to tell him to go away. But Kareem Hunt's a guy that I understand. Here's the deal. Kareem Hunt's a bigger back, just like Ezekiel Elliott. But Kareem Hunt will be signed by an NFL team. It's just a question of when. And he can play. I mean, he can play. So that's my number one no-brainer. I don't know if it's an injury issue, but Kansas City released Kelvin Joseph. May not be number one, but I was kind of expecting him to be maybe the number 2 or number 3 guy in Kansas City. They said no. He didn't have a great preseason, but this guy started in the league. I think he may have already been signed as I'm making this video. But Kareem Hunt should be on the NFL roster. A lot of off-field stuff. Talent-wise, if you're a team that needs a running back, Tampa Bay, for example, that would be the guy that I would turn to. But Perry says Steele looked really good in preseason. Yeah. So he was a guy Kansas City brought in, undrafted rookie free agent. No expectations to make the team, and earned himself a roster spot, beating out guys like Kadarius Toney. Beat out receivers because the Chiefs saw value in him as a fullback. And this is why I love preseason, is that sometimes you get a guy that wasn't expected to make the team, nobody thought would make the team, and he just surprises. And when you get a surprise like that, it doesn't matter if you're a Super Bowl winning team or you're the worst team in football. We'll just call it the Carolina Panthers because they had the number 1 pick in the draft. Would have if they didn't trade, but when you get a guy that comes out of nowhere and makes the team, it's fun. It's what America's all about, the underdog, winning a spot on the roster when there's a lot of obstacles. And he did. He looked really good, earned a roster spot. And special teams dude, probably won't touch the ball more than 20 times. Maybe maybe less than 10. We'll see. Gooch says, I'm like the boogeyman. All you have to do is ask, brother. Afternoon Delight first stream. I'll be there. I'll let you know because it starts September 9th. And don't forget, I will be live Chiefs, Chiefs Ravens in 6 days. I will be live doing live play-by-play and reaction. Cannot wait for that. I know you can't wait for Chiefs season start. I can't wait for Chiefs season start. 6 days. Can Geno run the offense or should they try Sam Darnold? Well, Geno in preseason said all the right things. I didn't get a chance to watch Seattle, but I haven't really heard much out of I don't follow, I'll be honest, I probably need to follow more Seahawks social media, but that was one team I didn't hear too much out of. But I did hear Geno Smith say he felt like this was the first time in a while that he felt like a passer, but he said it was different because he was taking 3, 5, 7-step drops where it used to be he would be in shotgun all the time. And when I hear a quarterback say, hey, I really like it, I'm doing something different, that's to me not a good sign. They did not. One thing about Pete Carroll is Pete Carroll really didn't care. I would say this. I think all teams care about draft selection, draft status, one way or another. I talked about the Chiefs and FAU. If FAU was the 7th round pick instead of the 1st round pick, he might not make the team. Pete Carroll really didn't care. You could be a big name free agent. You could be the 1st pick overall in the draft. But if a rookie free agent can beat you, he would start the rookie free agent. And that was kind of an issue that he was part of the power struggle with him and John Schneider, because John Schneider was the general manager, but Pete Carroll had player personnel control and autonomy and was basically the general manager. He could overrule John Schneider. But when it wasn't Bill Gates. Anyway, the owner of the Seahawks, Paul Allen. When Paul Allen passed away a few years ago, Paul Allen was involved, and Paul Allen met with both Pete Carroll and John Schneider, but Paul Allen and Pete Carroll had a relationship where Paul Allen's like, you do whatever you want. You got your general manager here. He's here to help you. My guess is that when Paul Allen passed away and his daughter took control of the Seahawks, and I've said this many times, but my guess is his daughter just, hey, look, I own the team. You do whatever with it. I'm going to enjoy my $50 billion inheritance or whatever the amount is. I mean, Microsoft owner. I mean, probably, I mean, her biggest problem is probably, oh, my Ferrari's the wrong color white, or, whatever multi-billionaire problems are. But my guess is that she can care less about, who's the starting quarterback. But Geno Smith's in a contract year also. That might have something to do with it. But I think if it was an open competition, I think Sam Howell might have had a chance. But the way I understand it is that Geno's number one, Sam Howell's the backup. But I think Sam Howell should be given a legitimate chance because I think he can play. Well, I've never been a Geno Smith guy, so we'll find out. But Seattle's a team that a lot of people are high on. I am not one of them. And I think that the reason why is that they're set on Geno Smith being the starter, and I think Sam Howell should at least get a look. To the best of my knowledge, they're very happy going into the season with Smith 1, Howell 2, and go from there. Do you think the Panthers pick top 10? Probably. Probably. And the reason why is they lost so many starters on the defensive side of the ball. I don't see any way that a team that didn't have that good of a defense to begin with, that loses 4 to 5 starters, then you bring in an offensive-minded coach who uses 3 of his first 4 picks were offensive guys that are very raw. It kind of looks like the Panthers are building something, but I would feel very comfortable saying that the Panthers are going to pick top 10. And I think that's been the plan. I think that they tried to like, hey, look, we're going to be good instantly. Okay, that's not going to work. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Xavier Legette, their first pick in the draft, raw as hell, all the talent in the world. Jonathan Brooks, second round pick, the first running back chosen. I think it was pick number 46, first running back off the board, coming off an ACL injury in, I believe it was November. It's either October or November. Clean tear, going to be healthy. He's already on the PUP list. He's not going to play till probably week 6 or 7, maybe. Forget the name. I think it's Jatavion Sanders, fourth round pick, early fourth round pick, tight end out of Texas. Watched him play, looked like first, second round player, probably second round. Had a bad time at the 40, 4.69 at like 240. Not terrible, but not where you take him second. Watch him on film, he's second round player. You got players that can run the offense that Dave Canales wants to run, a quick throwing, quick receiving, type of offense. It's just going to take some time. So I think they're building things the right way, but yeah. And the best part is that this draft coming up is a defensive laden draft. It kind of feels like Carolina setting their defensive coordinator up. It's something Evero. He was in Denver, did a really good job in Denver. But it sounds like since he was forced to keep his defensive coaching staff there, hey, go ahead, you can keep your job, but we're going to get rid of like 4 or 5 year starters, and you're not going to get guys to replace them. So yeah, I think the defense is going to be bad, and they'll use this draft. I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers use the entire draft on defensive players next year. So, well, this will be year 3. So, no, I'm sorry. This is year 2. He was a rookie last year. It's only year 2. So you got a couple of years. So I get why they're trying to build it up, but I really think that what they're realistically thinking about is not this year, but 2025 and 2026. The way that they set up some of these contracts was really weird. That was kind of the reason why they had to go through a couple general managers, because they had a lot of there's no reason for them to be in salary cap, to have salary cap problems, but they did. That's kind of the reason why they got rid of a lot of their defensive players that were starters, is for salary cap things. So build the offense with young, talented, cheap playmakers. Next year, they're going to add a bunch of defensive players, maybe a new defensive coach. But you're only on year 1. You get 4 guaranteed and the 5th year option. So you have time. I mean, you have time. It was only year 1 last year, and he had flashes. Like you could see the potential, but he needs help. He got some on offense, but lost a lot of defense. So yeah, I do think the Panthers will probably pick top 10. What are your take on keys to the game, Kinsey versus Ravens, Rams at Lions? Okay, I'm going to start with Rams and Lions. I cannot wait to see this game, because in the playoff game last year, Stafford clearly outplayed Goff. I mean, clearly outplayed Goff. Puka Nakuda, butchering that name, by the way, not Kuda. Great game. And it really felt that if the Rams got the ball one more time, they might have been able to pull the upset. But the Lions offense was able to keep the ball, run out the clock, and do everything. Well, you got Aaron Donald, arguably the best defensive tackle of all time, maybe the best defensive lineman of all time. It's a debate. Well, he's no longer there. But you brought in some new players. The Ernest Ernest Johnson trade, their starting inside linebacker to Tennessee, was a little surprising. I'm guessing there's some stuff behind the scenes. Maybe it was a contract issue. I don't know, but it was a little bizarre. But the key is going to be two high-powered offenses going at it. I got, on one hand, a Rams defense, which is pretty good, but lost a first ballot Hall of Famer. They also traded away a key component to their defense, the Tennessee, which is a weird trade. I got to think that there's some things behind the scenes there that happened. But I have a team that has some youth, but some questions in the Rams defense. Lions. Well, what do I got with the Lions? I have a team that had a bad defense, but two rookie corners. So, all right. So keys to the game. You have two of the best receivers in football. I'm calling Cooper Kupp one of the best receivers in football, even though he's been banged up. I got a rookie 5th-round pick who looks all world. Well, I got a revamped young secondary in Detroit. I got a quarterback. I mean, what did he do against the Lions last year in the playoffs? So like 384 or something. I mean, he put up some numbers, man. I mean, I would, if I'm starting, if I could choose fantasy football only, Stafford over Goff, it's not even a question. But all right, I'm kind of ranting here. Okay. Rams and Lions, the keys to the game. Rams receivers, rookie defensive backs. This is key. Terrion Arnold, Rakestraw, they're both going to play. You're dealing with maybe the best receiver duo, and I got a Hall of Fame quarterback. I'm calling Stafford a Hall of Famer. Throwing the ball. That's gotta be the number one key to the game. Lions versus Rams, you're missing Aaron Donald. You got two rookies on that front seven, and you're also missing your starting inside linebacker, traded in a very weird. I kind of wanted to talk more about it, but I won't bring too much of it up. But it's very strange. So I'm looking at a Lions offensive line. Can I call the Lions offensive line the best in football? It's up there. I know Gibbs is banged up, but I fully expect him to play. David Montgomery's a dude, very underrated running back. I think if the Lions want to really win this game, I think it has to be less of Stafford versus Goff. Then it has to be more of the Lions running game against a front seven who is missing arguably the best defensive lineman of all time. It's going to be a great game because here's the drill. If the Rams receivers eat up those rookie defensive backs, you're in for a long night. Now, if I'm the Lions, I want to shorten this game. And it's funny because the Lions have a high-powered offense, so you're probably thinking, wait a minute, Dan, are you disrespecting our offense? No, I'm not disrespecting your offense. I looked at what happened in the playoffs last year. I watched Stafford go for 384? Nakuda went for 180 something? I got a couple rookies back there, and Brian Branch is on year 2. Yeah, I don't want to make this a shootout. I want to run the ball. I want to control the clock. I want to do my weird shit where I'm going for it on 4th down. First touchdown of the game by the Detroit Lions. Do they go for 2? Why not? Didn't they do that last year against my Chiefs? Didn't they go for 2? Why not? Maybe Hendon Hooker comes in there for some crazy shit. So, the keys to the game are the Rams receivers against rookie defensive backs. The Lions running game against a new front seven for the Rams. And in my opinion, I also think it's Stafford versus Goff. But if I'm the Lions, I want to make it less about that because I want to run the ball. I want Montgomery to have 100 yards. I want Gibbs to have 100 scrimmage yards, and I want to just have Aiden Hutchinson, who is. If you guys are telling me the Rams offensive line's banged up, so I want Aiden Hutchinson, to take advantage of season one instead of being at Arrowhead, being in wonderful Ford Field. Oh, I'm gonna read these comments and then I want to touch base on Chiefs Ravens real fast. Yeah, if he's healthy, he hasn't been healthy in a while. Perry says, for me, it comes down to how well our defense plays. Our offense should put up numbers. I agree. The one thing I would say, like, if I was the Lions this game, my goal would be to play ball control. And with the sound as loud as it's going to be in Ford Field, to have Aiden Hutchinson take advantage of things. But if I'm the Lions, I want a ball control the clock type of old school type of game. If I'm the Rams, I want a shootout because I believe that you gave up 2 first-round picks and Goff for Stafford. I want it to be Stafford versus Goff because I want to believe that Stafford and my 2 stud receivers, and by the way, Kyron Williams is a really, really good running back. So I don't want a shootout. If I'm Detroit, which sounds crazy, but if I'm Detroit, I don't want a shootout. I want to play ball control, make this game short. But and I know it sounds crazy. I think Dravis and Robinson are the starters at cornerback. I'm gonna pay attention to that. That's going to be when the Rams have the ball, the number one thing I'm going to be paying attention to is the Lions secondary, because if the Lions want to get to a Super Bowl, that secondary has to be good. That secondary has to be good. I need those rookies to make plays. What happened week 1 last year? Brian Branch, what happened? He got pick 6. I need those guys in the secondary. You traded up for one in Terrion Arnold. Rakestraw, I'm telling you, can play. That guy is a first round talent. That is not a question. It's going to be a good game. But if that's your starters, I'm going to be – when the Rams have the ball, the number one thing I'm going to be paying attention to is the secondary, because I fully expect Aiden Hutchinson to make things difficult. I fully expect that. I don't need to watch the front seven as much as I need to watch secondary. When the Lions have the ball, I want to pay attention. Can they force their will on the Rams front seven without Aaron Donald? Because they didn't have a problem running the ball. And that's how they won the game, by the way, was running the ball. Keeping the offense off the field. Can that after you? I mean, how much did you give Penei Sewell? Is that offensive line capable of dominating? That's what I'm going to look at. Will Kansas City defensive coordinator show too much early in the season versus Lamar? Will they save that for the playoffs? So, if you talk to Keys will tell you that the Chiefs hold a bunch of stuff back. And that might be true, but I think that they'll show quite a bit. And the reason why they'll show quite a bit week 1 is that they want teams to be afraid, because week 2 they play Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Bengals have had success against Kansas City at specifically at Arrowhead. In the playoffs and in the regular season. So, I mean, I think that you want to show a team more week 1 because you want a team to say, okay, we have to worry about this. We have to worry about that. We have to worry about this. Key to the game, Kansas City versus the Ravens. All right. What I said about The Lions is what I think the Ravens want to do against Kansas City. Now, the key for the Ravens is that I'm releasing the video hopefully tomorrow about the AFC North. The Ravens have 3 new starters on the offensive line. Week 1, you're playing against Chris Jones, and I mentioned George Karlaftis, but the Chiefs this offseason quietly made a really good move. I always get the name wrong. It's Hanna. I think it's Mike Hanna, but he had, I think, 9 sacks last year. He's a former 5th-round pick who I thought the Chiefs would lose in free agency. Turns out he re-signed with Kansas City, got some money, deserved it. But he was an undersized player, just worked hard, relentless, add something. The Chiefs were hoping FAU would replace him. Turns out he can't. The Chiefs also signed some defensive tackles. And what the Chiefs are doing is that in the Steve Spagnuolo system is they just have lots of defensive linemen. And they just bring it. They're going to have lots of safeties, and they're going to have lots of defensive linemen. And the key is with the Ravens and King Henry is, can you play ball control against Kansas City? Because in the AFC Championship game, Kansas City won 17-10. If you told me before the game, hey, Kansas City's only going to score 17 points, I said, well, we had a good year. Baltimore's a good team. If Baltimore is going to beat Kansas City, Derrick Henry doesn't have to get 100 yards, but he has to probably get about I'd say at least 75. If this is going to sound crazy, but Derrick Henry could have 27 carries, 81 yards, and the Ravens could win this game. He has to basically keep the chains moving. If you have 3 new starters on the offensive line, you don't want to put Kansas City was 2nd in the league in sacks. Baltimore's number 1, right? Kansas City's offensive line, except for that rookie left tackle, is the same. You got 3 new starters going against a really good defensive line in Kansas City. And one thing about Steve Spagnuolo is that you're going to see blitzes, you're going to see all sorts of stuff. So what do you do to offset that? You got to run the ball. Derrick Henry has to have a good game. Does he have to have 200 yards and 3 touchdowns? No. He could have 80 yards and just make sure that, hey, on 3rd and 2, get the first down. Hey, on first down, get 4 yards so you're in 2nd and manageable instead of 2nd and long, because you're going to have a big problem on 3rd and long. Kansas City, as except for one game where Lamar Jackson and company, part of it was a CEH fumble late, has kind of struggled against the Kansas City Chiefs defense. So you want to play ball control. You want to shorten the game, just like I said, the Lions want to. I know I'm sounding like I'm just repeating the same thing for both things, but with the Chiefs and Ravens, the Ravens need to have Derrick Henry be the main dude, right? The Kansas City Chiefs, on the other hand, look what they got. They got Mr. 4-2-1. They brought back Juju Smith-Schuster, all right? You have Rashid Rice, you have Travis Kelce, you have the Kansas City Chiefs. What do they want to do? They want to throw the ball. Javion Clowney's no longer there. You do have a rookie left tackle, but trust me, the Chiefs are going to be ready for that. The Chiefs aren't going to try to run the ball right down the Ravens' throat. That doesn't make any sense. But can you throw the ball against this team? You might be able to. You might be able to. And so the key for the Kansas City Chiefs is that the Chiefs want lots of possessions, lots of scoring. They would love to be in a shootout. The Ravens want to make this a short game. They want to have Derrick Henry. In a perfect world, the Ravens, Derrick Henry gets 30 touches and a couple touchdowns. In a perfect world, Lamar Jackson throwing the ball is what they need to do to move the ball around. I'm expecting a lot of 7-8 man fronts week 1. I'm expecting a lot of craziness from the Chiefs' defensive game plan. And I think with 3 new offensive linemen, I think you'll see it. I think you'll see it. I'm expecting a Kansas City win week 1. I said that last year, and I lost some money. I'm betting a little bit of money this year, but I do fully expect Kansas City to get a little creative defensively. And I expect you to see a lot because I think the Bengals, week 2, want to prepare. I think the Chiefs want the Bengals to prepare for a lot. I think you'll see George Karlaftis line up all over the field. I think you'll see Chris Jones line up all over the field. I think you'll see a lot of different safety combinations. I think you'll see a lot of different safety blitzes. But the Ravens, in order for the Ravens to beat the Kansas City Chiefs week 1, Derrick Henry has to have a huge game. Has to have a huge game. When healthy, our O-line, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think your offensive line could be the best in all of football. And what happens when you have a good unit, your depth is usually not as good. That's what happens when you pay one of your offensive linemen $110 million. The guy backing him up, probably not the number one dude. And that was the reason why you went to Canada, your hometown. That's why you drafted that guy. Was it 4th round or 5th round? Project. But you need to build depth cheaply. So, by the way, you are right. The Rams are a very solid team. Which division do you see? Do you see 3 teams making the playoffs? I'm going to ask, and I'm going to shoot you a message tomorrow, but the AFC North, I could see it. I already said I already ruined it by saying Cincinnati is going to be my worst first. Baltimore's definitely a playoff team, and I could see Pittsburgh or Cleveland, but I think the AFC North. Dallas and Philly in the NFC East, Lions and Packers. I can see 49ers and Rams, but I like the AFC North. Guys, I'm going to wrap up. Just a reminder, no show Friday, but Afternoon Delight will start September 9th on a Monday through Friday, 3 straight hours of football talk. Same great show, just a new time in the afternoon. I will be live in 6 days, Chiefs, Ravens. Be there. I'll have the link out soon. Link to Keaton Talk Sports is below. My email, dantalksfootball@yahoo, is also below. I'll answer everything within 24 hours. Also, if you put a comment, I will definitely read it and get back to you as quickly as possible. But that's all I have for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. Join me in 6 days for Chiefs Ravens. Join me this fall for Afternoon Delight starting September 9th. Have a great weekend. I can't wait to see you back. Hopefully I get to see you back on Thursday night.